Welcome to this meeting of the Committee on Education for the 2023 legislative session. Secretary, will you please call roll?
Assemblywoman Anderson. Assemblyman De Silva. Assemblywoman Hanson. Assemblywoman Hardy. Assemblyman Koenig. Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch. Assemblyman MacArthur. Assemblywoman Mosca. Assemblywoman Taylor. Assemblywoman Thomas. Assemblywoman Torres. Chair Bilbray Axelrod.
Here, and please mark Assemblywoman Hardy here when she arrives. She is presenting in front of another committee. Welcome to everyone in Carson City and Vegas, and those of you joining us over the internet. Please make sure that you silence your electronic devices. Anything that makes noise, go ahead and make sure it's in the silent mode. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door. Provide a business card to your committee secretary. When testifying, press the microphone button. Clearly state and spell your name and any affiliation for the record. Then turn the microphone off each time you're done speaking. If you have handouts, you should have brought the handouts and put them over on the table for members of the public. We expect courtesy and respect in our committees. We might not always agree with each other, but that doesn't mean that we can't be nice to each other. Committee members will be using their laptops during committee meeting to view handouts and other documents. Do not take this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. And finally, please note that bill testimony will be limited to 20-minute windows, which means that even if you have signed in, doesn't mean that you will all be able to testify. We're going to take 20 minutes of support, 20 minutes of opposition, and 20 minutes of neutral. We have people in Carson City, we have people in Las Vegas, and we have people on the phone line, so and I have to kind of toggle between those three. So with that, let's get started. Today, we're going to hear three bills. We'll begin with the hearing on Assembly Bill 245, then we will hear 241 and 228 as the agenda stated. With that, I will open the hearing on AB 245. This measure revises provisions governing education. To present this measure, we have Assemblywoman Torres, who is joined by a couple of co-presenters that she will introduce. Please go ahead when ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Bilbray Axelrod, Vice Chair Taylor, and members of the Assembly Committee on Education, a working committee in the Nevada State Legislature. Today, I'm excited to be joined by students to present AB 245, which revises provisions governing education. Last legislative cycle, we started the work regarding sexual violence in schools, both K through 12 and in higher education. The reality is that sexual violence and violence on campuses continues to impact students today. Today, I will not be presenting AB 245. I'll be allowing for my co-presenters to talk about, first we'll hear from Stephanie Magallanes, a high school student that will talk about the impact of teen dating violence. Then we will hear about Amanda Vaskov from ASUN. And she will speak to the impact of sexual violence on college campuses. And then my intern, Olivia No, will walk us through the piece of legislation. I will remind committee members that there is an amendment that has been posted on Nellis, and I encourage you to make sure you're looking through that. I apologize for the tardiness. It has been a conversation, a dialogue that we have continued to have. And I will tell you, this is probably a dialogue and conversation we'll continue to have in the coming days. Without further ado, I'll introduce Ms. Stephanie Magallanes.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Magallanes, and I'm a survivor of teen dating violence. This bill will be important for girls and boys like me, victims of teen dating violence. As a victim, I feel that this bill will be very important for all grade levels. As a victim, you find it difficult to speak about it to peers and parents. You become embarrassed, overwhelmed with many emotions and confusion. Knowing that you have a place or someone you can call that is available at any time will help you make you feel safe. It will help people like me know that you can get the proper assistance and support to get out of that domestic violence relationship. It would be a great relief to know that there will be someone there to help you when you need it the most. With my personal experience, I felt trapped and I wanted to tell my mom due to her health, and I did not want to add to that. I would hide it and try to handle it myself, but it didn't help me. If there was any kind of assistance for this, I would have gladly taken it and reached out. I ended up getting myself into a more dangerous and difficult situation. I felt that if there was a way for someone to help me besides it being my mom, and I could get the guidance along with support, it wouldn't have gotten that far. Having this bill will mean a lot to victims that go through it, and will love to be that voice for others that are currently struggling with being in a relationship like this. We can prevent many incidents and losses of teens if we pass this bill and are able to send that help and support out, and make sure to let people know that this is nothing to feel ashamed or embarrassed about, and that there's many other people that go through this at our age. Already setting a sense of comfort for victims, knowing that you should not feel that way and that it's not your fault, is a great help and the first step in getting out. The services expanded by this bill should be promoted in all schools and should be implemented due to the high rates of teens that are impacted by this type of violence. 21% of girls ages 14 through 18 have been kissed or touched without their consent. 38% of LGBTQ girls, 24% of Latin girls, 23% of Indonesian girls, 22% of Black girls, along with the 53.9% of LGBTQ youth 13 through 21 have been sexually harassed. I urge you to support AB 245.
Hello, my name is Amanda Voskov, Amanda Vaskov. I represent the Associated Students of the University of Nevada, or ASUN, and that's over 14,000 of our undergraduate students at UNR. At my institution, research from 2018 showed that 10% of our students reported experiencing sexual assault or coercion, 23% reported unwanted touching, and 7% reported experiencing rape within their collegiate career. Given that 58% of those students who reported an incidence of violence experienced it in their first year on campus, our newest students tend to be the most vulnerable. This school year, knowing both the prominence of this issue and that Nevada's legislative session was coming up, I began having conversations about existing gaps in sexual misconduct prevention amongst my student body and my peers. Additionally, I implemented an informal survey about this issue and received responses from over 1,100 students. Here are the sentiments that were expressed in this survey and in conversations with students I had. Sexual assault happens often. As a resident assistant in on-campus housing, I assisted residents with this issue often. There are victims that are afraid to come forward. Most girls I talk to or have been or know has known someone who's been sexually assaulted. I know someone or I am someone who has been sexually assaulted. I didn't know that assault could happen in a relationship. I didn't want to tell someone for fear of ruining the perpetrator's reputation. I didn't know it was an assault because the perpetrator was female. And I didn't have any resources or help. In talking with my peers, it has become abundantly clear to me that sexual misconduct is a problem at our institution, one that is more common than we think. While these sentiments came from students in my institution, UNR, we know this is an issue that's cross-cutting amongst youth and institutions of higher education in Nevada. The Nevada 2021 Department of Health and Human Services Rape Prevention and Education State Action Plan reported that college students are particularly vulnerable. Nearly 1 in 4 women and 15% of men experience forced intercourse throughout their collegiate experience. As Assemblywoman Torres mentioned, this conversation comes off of the tail end of one that was started in the 2021 session. At that time, SB 347 was signed into law. This legislation created the Sexual Misconduct Task Force within NSHE, authorized NSHE institutions to enter into a memorandum of understanding with organizations that assist individuals with incidences of sexual misconduct, authorized the Sexual Misconduct Task Force to develop an NSHE-wide climate survey to assess the scope of this issue, and authorized NSHE institutions to provide training for faculty and students regarding sexual misconduct prevention. While the passage of SB 347 was a significant progress in addressing power-based violence on our college and university campuses, more work must be done. AB 245 proposed revisions to the membership of the task force, additional specifications regarding the task force's mandate, and revisions to the training that is provided for students and faculty regarding sexual misconduct prevention at our institutions are the next steps in continuing to address this dynamic issue at the higher education level. I look forward to answering any questions the Assembly Committee on Education may have today.
Good afternoon, Chair Bilbray Axelrod, Vice Chair Taylor, and members of the Education Committee. For the record, my name is Olivia No, Olivia, last name Ngo, and I'm a third-year student at the University of Nevada, Reno, currently interning for Assemblywoman Selena Torres. I'd like to again thank the Assemblywoman, Amanda, Serena Evans, and Stephanie for their work in bringing this bill forward. It's been a long time coming. Our community deserves the resources and education to combat the prevalence of violence on our campuses. With that being said, I will now provide an overview of AB 245 with the proposed amendments. This bill, with the conceptual amendments, will have two new sections. The first defines power-based violence as any form of interpersonal violence intended to control or intimidate another person through the assertion of power and control, generally replacing the term sexual misconduct with power-based violence throughout the bill. Power-based violence is a term referring to domestic, dating, and sexual violence, human trafficking, sexual misconduct and harassment, and stalking. This definition is more inclusive of all victim survivors' experiences. The second new section proposed requires that the Committee on Statewide School Safety, through the Governor's Office, established in NRS 388.1324, to create a subcommittee focusing on K-12 school responses, intervention, and prevention of power-based violence, again, in K-12 schools across the state. The subcommittee will examine best practices and make recommendations for the standardized procedures and prevention methods in a victim-centered, trauma-informed way. The subcommittee will be responsible for centering student experiences that relate to power-based violence and student safety, examining current procedures and protocols statewide, identifying emerging trends and best practices, identifying possible service gaps, and making recommendations for standardized procedures that will focus on preventing and intervening in disclosures of power-based violence. In terms of membership, the subcommittee should include 2 representatives from school districts from Southern, Northern, and Rural Nevada, 2 representatives from organizations and programs that serve victim survivors of power-based violence, 2 K-12 school students and families, 1 student survivor of power-based violence, 2 Title IX representatives, 1 representative from Safe Voice and/or the Office of Safe and Respectful Learning, 1 school-based law enforcement, and 2 school counselors, social workers, or psychologists. This subcommittee shall also be required to create legislative recommendations to submit to the Interim Committee on Education by August of even-numbered years. So moving back to what is listed as Section 1 in the original introduced text, this is the part starting with Chapter 388 of the NRS shall be amended. So starting there, Section 1 requires that the Board of Trustees of each school district and the governing body of a charter school to enter into a Memorandum of Understanding, or an MOU, with an organization that assists victims of power-based violence. Examples in Nevada include the Crisis Call Center in Northern Nevada and Safe Nest. This section further outlines the duties for both the school district and the organization within such an MOU, and it provides for the inclusion of a fee structure for services provided by the organization. Next, Section 3 adds that the Safe Voice program within the Office for a Safe and Respectful Learning Environment of Nevada's Department of Education must include methods and procedures to ensure that a pupil who is a victim of power-based violence may obtain a referral to such an organization. This section also establishes that the director of the Office for a Safe and Respectful Learning Environment may enter into 1 or more agreements with agencies and organizations to facilitate referrals for wraparound services or services relating to domestic violence. Such an agreement may provide for certain sharing of information. This is important to provide a survivor with confidential resources to recover from the dangerous and potentially violent interaction they have had. Section 4 of the bill creates the Commission on Higher Education Campus Safety and outlines information pursuant to the membership, terms, meeting expectations, and other duties related to the Commission. Section 10 of the bill abolishes the existing task force on sexual misconduct at institutions of higher education, and Sections 6 and 7 transfer its duties to this commission, consisting of 15 total members. And for the sake of clarity, I will give an overview of all the membership as amended. 1 is the chancellor of the system or their designee, 8 members who are appointed by legislative leadership, that being 4 legislators and 4 community members who work with sexual violence and campus safety, 2 students appointed by the Nevada Student Alliance, or NSA, two governor appointees, and one chancellor appointee from the University Police, as well as one faculty member appointed by the governor upon consideration of any recommendations that represent professional employees of the Nevada system of higher education. This commission is housed within NSHE, required to create legislative recommendations to submit to the Interim Committee on Education by August of even years, and is authorized to order a climate survey. Section 7 of this bill would require that the commission appoint researchers either within NSHE or from a third party to develop a biannual climate survey. On average, only 20% of victims report an incident, so this is another way to gauge the problem of sexual misconduct on campuses, because we truly need to understand the problem as specific to our state in order to solve it effectively. Section 8 of the bill outlines certain requirements for Nevada system of higher education students and employees related to the institutional programming on the awareness and prevention of power-based violence. This section adds provisions relating to an institution's ability to incorporate such programming into coursework and degree conferral. Subsection 5 clarifies that the programming is to be attended in person for any college with on-campus housing. Institutions may create a waiver for students in a completely virtual program. So this includes students living off campus who are still working towards a degree program that is primarily completed in person. All other institutions shall provide training virtually or in person. Furthermore, it outlines certain requirements concerning the provision of such programming to employees, including the programming delivery and materials. We wish to eliminate subsection 5C, which originally states that a copy of the syllabus and instructional materials be made available for viewing, because the intent of the bill was not to require course syllabi to be made publicly available. And finally, the bill in other sections makes certain conforming changes and defines key terms. So I know that was a lot of information. Thank you for allowing me to walk you through the bill with the proposed amendments. I'd just like to conclude by saying that, unfortunately, sexual violence continues to be a prevalent problem that our youth face. The trauma and aftermath of these experiences can be mentally exhausting and affect academic and professional performance, and lessen the feeling of safety and belonging on school campuses. So as we continue to celebrate Women's History Month, I humbly urge your support of this bill to defend our rights to a safe and consensual learning environment. Sexual violence also disproportionately affects those that are a part of communities of color or the LGBTQ+ community. So we must continue to take action to protect the vulnerable in our community, who may be our children, our siblings, and our students. And with that, we are open to questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, and thank you, all three of you, really, for coming out here and sharing with us and putting yourself out there. I mean, we're all very impressed, and thank you for sharing, and thank you for. So, I'm going to actually start with a clarifying question on Section 7 and Section 8, because I see that there is a requirement for our Board of Regents, and I just would like our council to give an opinion on that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Asher Killian, Committee Counsel. So I know the provisions of the existing law that are amended by Section 7 and 8 make it authorize the Board of Regents to engage in certain activities. The request in the proposed amendment is to require the Board of Regents to engage in those activities, specifically conducting certain research relating to issues relating to sexual violence within the system, and then requiring employees and students within the system to receive certain training on those topics. The power of the legislature with respect to the Board of Regents is somewhat limited by the state constitution. As interpreted in the King and Oakley cases, the Supreme Court has held that the legislature does not have the power to interfere with the management and control of the state university by the Board of Regents. And both of these topics, research done by employees of the system on issues within the system and the training provided to employees and students within the system, could be construed by the court as interfering with the internal control and management of the state university. So it's not clear that mandating the regents to do this, as opposed to asking them to do it, would be constitutional under the King and Oakley cases.
Thank you, Chair. And if I could respond real quickly.
Please.
Assemblywoman Torres for the record, I think this, I had the opportunity to speak with legal before this meeting, so it doesn't come as a surprise to me. So obviously the amendment would have to be revised for Section 7 and Section 8 to only give authorizing permission, authorizing the Board of Regents to do so, but not mandating that. And I think this highlights a greater issue in our community, the fact that the legislature, our hands are tied because of the current status of ENCHI, and I think it's just highlighting a different issue, and I think it's important for this body to recognize the fact that, ENCHI resides right now within the Constitution as it is preventing us from protecting our kids. So I hope the Board of Regents do something, and students have gone to the Board of Regents. This isn't the first time that, they've had this conversation. This isn't the second time they've had this conversation. So I urge the Board of Regents to do something, but the reality is, our hands are tied right now, so we will continue to work with permissive language, asking the Board of Regents to do this, but obviously we cannot require them to do so.
Thank you. With that, we will go, we have a few questions. Okay, we will start with Assemblywoman Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, good afternoon. It's not evening.
Not yet.
Okay. One thing I want to do publicly. That was the best presentation I have ever heard in this body. I am so impressed with you, so impressed. So kudos to you. And I don't like the subject matter, but it needed to come forward. And I appreciate you doing that. As a college student myself, walking campuses at night, back in the day, I know that things like this happen on campuses, and whether or not it's high school or college campuses. So bringing this this bill forward, I appreciate you doing that for a lot of people to come. And I just wanted to know, Assemblywoman Torres, why is my name not on this?
We can, Amanda Vasco for the record, we can accept the amendment and make sure your name gets on there as well. Thank you so much for your kind remarks.
Next, we will go to Assemblyman Koenig.
Thank you, Chair. So I received a communication from a person in one of my really rural districts, and the requirement is that the school boards enter an MOU with a community-based sexual misconduct orientation. And this wasn't a superintendent for sure. I'd like Mary, I assume, is going to come up, and I'd like maybe an answer from her, and I don't know if there's anyone from NASB here. But according to the person that I talked to, they weren't sure that that organization existed in their small little town. And so they were wondering how that might affect them, and it might exist and they might not be aware of it.
Serena Evans for the record. I'm the policy director for the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence, and we currently have 13 programs statewide from northern Nevada, southern Nevada to our rural communities. And so nothing in the bill specifically states that the MOU has to require in-person services. And so our advocacy agencies, as many other service providers throughout COVID, became very comfortable with virtual advocacy, as well as many of our rural agencies serve multiple rural communities. So we have advocates in every community.
Quick follow-up. So the wording is community-based. I guess it doesn't say have to be in your community, but there was some concerns. I mean, if you have 13, there's going to be some smaller counties that don't have one. So as long as community-based doesn't mean your community, I guess we're good.
Serena Evans for the record. We can certainly work on some specific language to clarify that community-based advocacy basically just means a nonprofit agency within a community, and so we can clarify that those agencies can serve multiple counties and don't have to be located directly in said county.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'm not sure we need language for that as long as we have that on the record. Next, we will go to Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Assemblywoman Torres, for bringing this. I think it's really critical, and thank you all for your testimony today and for the presentation. I think you are clearly very well prepared, and you have thought this through deeply, and I appreciate that. I just had a question on the new term, power-based violence in the amendment. I just wondered if there was a reason that we were using that term instead of a term that we typically see, like domestic violence or sexual violence or domestic abuse or anything like that.
Amanda Vasco for the record. We're utilizing the definition of power-based violence because it covers sexual misconduct in statute, covers everything with the exception of human trafficking and sexual violence, and we wanted to make sure those were covered because we would see some of that in our communities, either at the collegiate or K-12 level as well.
And Assemblywoman Selena Torres for the record. So really, power-based violence is a little bit more inclusive of some other types of similar type of violence that is defined kind of in the amendment.
Next, we will go to Assemblywoman Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And you haven't coughed yet, so you're on the upswing. I hope I didn't jinx it. Okay, no. Sorry. Let's scratch that from the record. Thank you, Assemblywoman. I continue to be impressed by the students in our state, and I really commend you because you go out of your way to make sure they're involved in what you're doing. And when I listen to the three of them present, two of them I'm certainly familiar with. I just hope you let me stay in the seat a little bit longer before you take it, because it's clear that these are the future leaders in our state, and we need you. So thank you for coming and sharing your stories and advocating for those who have dealt with things, so that others don't have to go through some of the same things that you went through. So I really want to commend you for that. There's really power in this legislation, and I think you all know that, and I know that's the intention. And so my question is, we don't mention, and I know the charters and our University School for Gifted aren't a part of this, unless I missed it. Did I miss it?
Yep.
I did. It's in the amendment.
Assemblywoman Torres for the record. So in section 1, we do, in the amendment, we do apply to charter schools, but I think it's a fair point that we didn't apply to the University School for the Gifted, so we can expand that. Thank you.
Yeah, we want to protect all of our students. So thank you very much, and thank you, Assemblywoman Hanson, for that.
Next, we will go to Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Chair, and I also would like to thank all the presenters. You all did beautiful, and just makes us all proud. My question also has to do with the amendment, especially in particular in the new section. It has to do with the Committee on Statewide School Safety. I love this language. My question, however, and I also really love the representation of Title IX being present and the nice variety of individuals you have on there. I'm wondering if you would also be open, though, to somebody that is actually a college student to be able to serve on this, because unfortunately some of our students do not recognize it until they're away from the school site, or when they get a chance to talk with others, or they feel that there will be no repercussions because they are away from the possible school site area. At this time, it looks like there's K-12 school students and families, and I was just wondering if there was any sort of possibility of adding a college student or somebody that's already a graduate.
This is Olivia No for the record. Thank you, Assemblymember Anderson, for the question. Through you, Madam Chair. Currently at this time, we have not considered adding a college student to this subcommittee just because with the intent of this subcommittee, we did intend for it to serve K-12 students specifically in this capacity. I don't know if Assemblywoman Torres, you want to add to that?
Assemblywoman Torres for the record, and currently that main committee, so that task force, right now the Committee on Statewide School Safety is aimed at K-12.
Members, do we have any other questions? Okay, with that, we'll have you guys step back, and I will open it up to support. As a reminder, we're doing 20 minutes in support. If there's anyone in Vegas who would like to testify in support, you can go ahead and fill those seats. It is straight up 2 o'clock, so we'll go till 2:20. First person came to the table was in Vegas, so we will start in Vegas. Please go ahead when you're ready.
I guess we're a little faster in Vegas. This is Liz Ortenberger. Lizortenburger, and I'm the CEO for Safe Nest. I want to thank Assemblywoman Torres and all of the young women who presented today and the committee for hearing this important bill. What we know is undiagnosed, unbelieved, and uncared about early sexual abuse, rape, and molestation is a gateway into trafficking by girls and by boys. Youth and young adults must have support, anonymous, confidential, and available support that this bill provides. SafeNest can reach any community in the state that feels they don't have the resources in that community to provide the services in this bill. And thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. So we'll now come to Carson City. Begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Lindsay Walterbeek. I am a current senior at Reno High School, and I am a survivor of sexual violence. After my assault, I found myself at a loss for words on what to do, and navigating the aftermath of my trauma definitely took its toll. After breaking my silence amidst my junior year last year and reporting my assault, I was disappointed from the lack of support and lack of system put in place in responding to my scenario. I remember sitting in the counselor's office, my counselor apologizing for her lack of professionalism, as she simply told me that this was something that they hadn't dealt with before. I remember sitting in an office alone, anxiety pacing through my body while I waited for the sheriff's department to take my statement, whilst the counselors simply just stood outside. The lack of standardized procedures in our system has affected my life in many ways, including unnecessary and additional anxiety and mental health issues. Throughout the school year, I was met with silence from those that were supposed to support and help me as I tackled the hardest year of my life. I had reached out many times and was simply met with nothing from the school systems. The reality is that I'm lucky to be here today. I'm graduating in the upcoming spring and actively taking steps to heal my trauma with the support of my friends and family. Unfortunately, not every victim in my situation is so lucky. So it's vital for our schools to prioritize prevention and response to power-based violence for our students' safety and well-being. I am here today telling just a small portion of my story in hopes to make change for the students in the future, as no student or child should ever have to go through what I did. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Good.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the Education Committee, Reagan Comis with R&R Partners, but I'm not here today representing a client. I'm here representing myself today, and I just want to share with you the experience of a child I know from Northern Nevada and why this piece of legislation is so important. A young lady I know was sexually assaulted, and when other students knew and reported it to the school took no action. Students again went to the school administration and informed them that an assault had taken place, but the school took no action. This caused students to take matters into their own hands. They did a walkout of class, as well as posted online the victim's name, thinking that they were being helpful, but it wasn't. It just caused more trauma to that victim. Several days after the walkout, the administration did finally reach out to the victim and sat her down with a male law enforcement officer, where she did say yes, the assault had taken place. At that point, they had her pull out her cell phone and on speakerphone call her mother to tell her over the phone that she had been sexually assaulted. While the mother was driving to the school, she sat in the chair alone, no one providing her support other than the vice principal sitting at her desk and saying to the student, "I never get a chance to eat," and sat and ate her lunch while this child sat in a chair alone and afraid. This piece of legislation must be passed. We cannot have any more students like the beautiful young woman that was sitting next to me, or the young woman that I know, go through what they went through. We obviously need training at this level, and so I ask this committee to please pass this bill.
Thank you. Good.
Hello, committee members. My name is Nathan Noble, for the record, Nathan Noble, and this is a very personal issue for me. It's said the opposite of good isn't evil, it is indifference. And over the past few years, when I have been in proximity to this issue and have attempted to work towards a solution, that has been my experience. This began my freshman year of college when one of my closest friends was sexually assaulted. However, when she went to the Title IX office, they told her that they could not help and dismissed the investigation because the assault had occurred off campus premises. She was then referred to the police and to the counseling center. If you've ever tried to set an appointment with the counseling center, they are so underfunded and overworked that it is virtually impossible to set anything up. So I took it upon myself to try and create some campus policy, and in doing so, I talked to the Title IX office. When I went in to speak with them, they said, "Well, we appreciate your efforts, but we've already got this covered." When last session SB 347 was enacted, it was a massive step forward, yet it had one fatal flaw, that it had so many clauses where it said, the Board of Regents may do this. This may be enacted. This may be put forward. It did not say shall. And they did exactly what they were required to do. Not much. At every step of this process, victims encounter people who are unable to help them because they do exactly what they are required to do and nothing more. That is a flaw with the way that our laws are written and the way that our system is structured. And in order to correct that, we must take action. We can no longer kick the onus down the road to someone else, to a different office, to a different agency. We must step forward to defend the victims of this heinous problem. Because let me tell you, no one else will. The call of public service is to take action. And so today I call upon you all to join me and all the people here in this room to do more than we are required to, and to protect the people that we are elected to serve. Thank you, committee members.
We'll stay in Carson City for 3 more, and then we will go to the phone lines.
Hello, members of the committee. My name is Maria Teresa Lieberman Barraga, MARIA-TERESALIEBERMANN-PARRAGA. I'm the Deputy Director of Battleborn Progress, but I'm here to represent that little girl. That was me. That was one of those statistics. I was someone who suffered from unwanted touching and power-based violence, and even being here is scary. And that little girl grew up with parents who didn't speak English. We were undocumented. And on top of that, you add that that little girl was born with massive anxiety and ADHD, so you can only imagine the confusion of what was that? What do I do? My parents, I didn't even tell them. I didn't know what to do, and if only there was someone there, maybe it could have saved me years and years of absolute trauma and not knowing how to deal with it. Only in my adult life have I been able to actually come to terms with that incident. And so I thank the Assemblywoman, I thank the wonderful women and girls that came up here to do what's right. And I hope you all stand up for those kids, present, future, and past, that have been affected by this. So please support this.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Sarah Peterson, for the record, SarahPeterson. Oh, I can see myself up there. I'm a junior biology major at the University of Nevada, Reno. I support this bill because I work on campus in the Greek life community as a kind of peer victim advocate. And I'm overwhelmed with how many people there are to serve with how little resources that we have. I'm tired of having to comfort my friends and Panhellenic peers with every new rape, domestic violence instance, or worse. I mediate situations between fraternities and sororities and want to stress the deep divides in sex assault prevention education across the board. I've had many women tell me that they didn't understand that what they went through was classified as sexual assault until after I presented to their organization on the topic. Let me be clear, these are not small transgressions, but rather clear situations of sexual assault as defined by NRS 200.66. Allocating resources to this issue will not be done in vain. There's a larger population of victims on our collective campuses than one will ever be known by a climate survey, but it's a start. I urge our legislators to consider their own daughters and sons having to suffer in silence, attending lectures at the same institutions where their traumatic experience took place. I urge them to think of their mothers and grandmothers that experience the same thing that our collegiate women are experiencing right now, but in a social climate that prevented them from speaking out. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Chair Bilbray Axelrod and members of the committee. I am Elizabeth Abdur-Rahim, ELIZABETH, ABDUR-RAHEEM, and I am the Executive Director of the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. First, I would like to thank Assemblywoman Torres for her continued advocacy for ending violence and establishing resources for victim survivors. And I would also like to thank all the truly brave people who are testifying today, knowing that this could create continued trauma in their life, and hope that they are also getting support for this testimony. In the exhibits, you will see that NCEDSV has submitted written testimony, but I wanted to highlight just a few key points as I sit before you today. Power-based violence is an epidemic among youth and students in our state, and the procedures being proposed in this bill are long overdue. Currently, schools have been given no guidance on standardized procedures, and as a result, often leave student survivors and their families to research and seek out services on their own. However, in most cases, assaults cause victim survivors and their families extreme trauma, and we routinely hear from parents that they just don't know what to do or where to go for help. Unfortunately, they often try to handle the aftermath on their own. This approach leaves victim survivors and their families in a vulnerable state without critical services. Consequently, students experience significant negative effects to their academic and overall success. A warm handoff or connection to a community resource could very well be the exact intervention so many students and families are seeking. Our schools and systems need the guidance, support, and resources on power-based violence that our community-based agencies are able to offer. Our K-12 school systems and collaborators need to carefully examine the epidemic of power-based violence and develop recommendations on how to prevent, intervene, and respond to these forms of violence in a way that is victim-centered and trauma-informed. This proposed subcommittee is the first step in ending violence and doing better for Nevada's students. Last session, we were able to start the process of preventing and responding to violence on our higher education campuses. This year's proposed changes are necessary to ensure that the work continues and students receive the best possible prevention education. Power-based violence is preventable, and our students deserve better access to prevention education, intervention, and resources. We urge this committee to pass AB 245. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have 7 minutes left, so we are going to go to the phones. But before we go to the phones, Assemblywoman Torres has let me know that she has a trained victim advocate in her office that's happy to meet with folks. I know this conversation can pull up a lot of different emotions, so if anybody feels that they would like to talk to someone in Assembly Room 4115 right here on the corner in the 4th floor, please feel free to go there. And thank you very much, Assemblywoman Torres, for providing that. We're going to go to the phone lines, BPS.
Callers, if you would like to testify in support of AB 245, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Sorry, am I up?
We can hear you.
Okay, sorry. So my name is Mike Hamer, and I'm Senior Director of Project REAL. That's REAL. If you don't know us, we're a nonprofit working exclusively statewide here in Nevada, teaching kinder through college kids their rights and responsibilities under the law. We've been doing that free, statewide for 18 years at no cost to the students or schools we serve. And that's part of why I'm here, what I'm here to emphasize today. And along those lines, I should mention, We will go into any rural Nevadan community and serve in person at no cost to them, relating to that earlier question. So whether it's relationship violence or many forms of sexual violence, oftentimes the people involved don't recognize their victims or just involved with the crime until they're in serious trouble. Over the next 12 weeks, Project Real is going to be serving at least 25% of all high school seniors in Nevada with a 90-minute evidence-based relationship violence prevention experience. And we guarantee that no less than 80% of those students we serve will be somewhat to significantly less likely to become trapped in abusive and dangerous relationships thanks to that service. We stick with relationship violence and working in high schools out of an overabundance of caution. However, we have a similar experience covering sexual violence and consent, designed and ready for college students. The current cost to students and schools that we're going to serve with these is absolutely nothing. And if we were invited to something like UNR's Nevada Fit or UNLV's freshman orientation to do it, it would also cost them nothing other than the time they spend saying yes to having us come and do our trainings. We just need the doors open, and that's the challenge. So we currently actually have the capacity to serve more than 40% of the high school seniors in Nevada with the experience we offer with no additional funding or anything. The reason we're not serving all 40 is that even when the Nevada Department of Education highlighted our work in their SB 108 report that they issued in January, schools still have the trouble finding time to fit us in. They need the incentive, or in this case, the requirement, to say yes to work like ours. AB 245 would accomplish that, and it would potentially do it while costing the school districts and university systems little to nothing. 1 in 4 women, 1 in 7 men, 1 in 3 non-cis individuals are going to experience some form of relationship violence in their lives. And again, most of them don't know they're victims or even perpetrators of crimes like those until it's too late. So if you do the math, it's saving lives and saving the state money in terms of funds spent on investigating, prosecuting the crimes, housing convicts, and addressing the needs of victim survivors. And it's all thanks to low to no cost prevention education that's available if these systems and these organizations would just say yes to letting organizations like ours in. So really, if we can stop the next Gabby Petito or child being stuffed into a freezer like what happened last February in Southern Nevada in the Toseland case, all just by requiring students to learn about these matters academically, and again, that it can be done at little to no cost to the state or the systems, there's just no good reason not to overwhelmingly approve this bill. So that's my support for it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have about 2 more minutes in support, so we will go to the phone lines for another call, and then we'll come back to very briefly here.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Hello. Hello, members of the committee. My name is Aaron Sebastian. I reside in Senate District 12 and Assembly District 41. I am a CCSC high school student and founder of Teens Against Trafficking, which is a nonprofit organization aimed at fighting domestic violence and human trafficking. I've seen firsthand the impact that domestic violence has on our students in Nevada, and for me and my peers, power-based violence is an imminent issue that needs to be solved. 1 in 15 children are exposed to intimate partner violence each year. Even more stark are the millions of my peers sitting at home alone, processing their abuse with no one to reach out to. Through this program, Safe Voice dispatchers can refer those who seek their services to community-based victim advocacy agencies, which means our students will always have someone to talk to. That's something that's not available in the status quo, and it's so important to our students. For my peers and I, a lack of resources and ability to consult authorities on situations we face in relation to domestic violence has always been an issue. Teachers and educators may not have the necessary ability and training to handle cases of domestic violence successfully. So by allowing schools to sign into an MOU agreement, we utilize victim advocates to develop necessary policies. Members of the committee, our students for far too long have been trapped in a glass ceiling and a cycle of abuse. AB 245 is needed now and for the future, and I, along with thousands of other CCSD students, also advocate for its passage. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And we are over on support, but I will let you guys, if you could just say your name and your organization, and then I'm going to ask that people in the audience, if you're here in support of the bill, if you would stand right now. We could. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, and then if we could get the three of you. And yes, Ms. Brzezinski, you were being asked to answer the Assemblyman's question.
Oh, okay.
Were you here for that?
I was.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll start with you, and then if you guys could
Okay,
briefly
and
just.
I'll be brief. Okay, my
Thank
name is Mary Brzezinski. I'm here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents. We're in support of the bill because after conversations with Assemblywoman Torres, I was given the same assurance as was given earlier in the meeting that statewide organizations can meet the qualification of a community-based operation for the MOUs. And with that understanding, we're in support. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the Education Committee. My name is Jacob Colacurcio. I come to you today in support of Assembly Bill 245. As a student of the University of Nevada, Reno for several years, I recognize that adding further language in accordance with Senate Bill 347 is important for the continuation of our fight against sexual misconduct on campus. With 13% of nationwide college students experiencing some form of unwanted sexual encounters, it is necessary to require climate surveys and training every 3 years to keep topics of power-based violence fresh on college grounds. Moreover, we need the government support within the task force. The combined efforts of both community leaders and governmental personnel can push the envelope for promoting change. College students tend to spend hours on end in their pursuit of their aspirations and are loyal to their home campuses. Let's pass this bill to make our home safer and a more suitable place to pursue our passions. I strongly recommend you pass AB 245 and make a significant impact over the lives of those who have withstood these harsh acts of violence.
Thank you. We'll take the next two, just really briefly, please.
Kent Irvin, Nevada Faculty Alliance. As a faculty member, I get more of these cases reported to me. We don't have the training. Some mental health first aid training could help, but we also need to be able to refer students to Title IX and counseling and expect they will truly be supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alejandro Rodriguez, Director of Government Relations for Nevada System of Higher Education, and she's in support of AB 245, and we appreciate the opportunity to have been working with Assemblywoman Torres on this. Thank you.
Thank you, and hopefully you can help us get the regents to make this happen. All right. With that, we are going to close support, and we are going to move on to opposition. Is there anyone in the room in opposition? It's going to be a tough room for opposition. I just want to let you know. You might need to go up to the victim. Just kidding. It doesn't look like anyone's coming up. Is there anyone in Las Vegas? I'm not seeing anyone. Anyone on the phone lines? Is there anyone, BPS on the phone line in opposition?
Callers, if you would like to testify in opposition to AB 245, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify in opposition at this time.
Okay, and with that, we will go to neutral. Is there anyone in neutral in the room? I see someone approaching. If there's anyone in neutral in Vegas, if you want to come up. I'm not seeing anyone, so please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair Bilbright Axelrod, Vice Chair Taylor, and members of the Assembly Education Committee. My name is Katie Broughton, for the record, and I am the Legislative Liaison for the Department of Education. We would like to thank Assemblywoman Torres and the presenters for their important work on this bill. The Department of Education is testifying in neutral on AB 245 as we review the language proposed in the amendment. On a personal note, I would like to commend Lindsay Wolterbeek, who previously testified on this bill. I had the privilege of teaching her during her sophomore year of high school, and I am incredibly proud of her for the bravery she displayed sharing her story with you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. BPS, is there anyone on the line in neutral?
Callers, if you would like to testify in neutral for AB 245, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to provide neutral testimony at this time.
With that, we will close neutral testimony, and I didn't even have to invite them back. They're already here. So any closing comments you would like to make?
Hi, Amanda Vasco for the record. I just want to thank Assemblywoman Torres for being so cooperative throughout this process. She brought us into this process early on, and we had several stakeholder meetings at other institutions at UNLV, and last week we had a Zoom meeting with several other institutions. I know that Nevada State's in the room, and they were in the room for that conversation, so thank you so much for that. And I do want to extend a thank you to Chair Bilberry Axelrod, Assemblyman De Silva, Assemblyman MacArthur, and Assemblywoman Taylor for signing on to this bill as well. I really appreciate your support. And per Assemblywoman Thomas's comment, if any of you would like to sign on to this bill as well, let us know, and we will make sure to get your name on there with the amendment. So thank you so much for hearing us out today.
Thank you. This is Elviano for the record. I would like to thank the members of this committee for welcoming us into this space today, not only to present, but also to everybody who testified in the room. You all are very brave, and thank you for doing this work. It is not lost on me the power that you all have to legislate change and to make our students feel more comfortable in our school system. So I humbly urge your support of this bill again.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Slater-Torres, for the record. And, I think the students kind of said it all. And I really just want to make sure that we recognize the work of every single student that's here today and what that means, because I think that sexual violence is not just anecdotal. It's an actual trauma. It's an actual experience that far too many people have had and endured and continue to endure. On that, I just want to thank Amanda Vasco from ASUN, who really took the initiative. She reached out to me during the interim, and we started working on this what feels like forever ago, but I think it was probably close to 8 months ago. And Olivia, my intern, who have been a part of those stakeholder meetings and those conversations, as well as Stephanie Magallanes, who flew up here from Las Vegas to join us with us today and to share her story. And I recognize how hard sometimes it is to share those stories. Thank you, and I urge your support of AB 245.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. With that, we will close the hearing on AB 245, and I'll now open the hearing on AB 241. This measure revises provisions governing the education of pupils enrolled in public high school. To present this measure, we have our own Assemblywoman Mosca, who is joined by two co-presenters who she will introduce. And please go ahead when you are ready, Assemblywoman. We are not in a recess, but we're on a little bit of a hold. And I know, Assemblywoman Mosca, we have a lot of people in Las Vegas who are testifying, so I just did want to remind that we are going to limit testimony to 20 minutes as well. So just a reminder, begin when you're ready.
We've got a lot of students in the house today. We're excited. Well, thank you, Chair Bilberry Axelrod, Vice Chair Taylor, and the most excellent Committee on Education. I appreciate you today considering a pretty big policy change in AB 241, so I really look forward to the questions as well as hearing your thoughts at the end. Okay. Today I'm going to share my personal as well as my professional experience first to frame us with the problem. I'm then going to share what we think is the solution with the College and Career Readiness Diploma. I'll quickly review the national as well as Nevada context before quickly giving it over to my colleague, Dr. Tanya Holmes-Sutton, for an educator perspective, as well as Eddie Martinez for a student perspective. According to the Stanford Social Innovation Review, a proximate leader is defined as someone who has experienced the injustice they're trying to solve. Growing up, I had the most loving and caring parents. I would not be here today if it were not for them. My dad is an immigrant from the Philippines. He moved here and learned English from Sesame Street, and he earned his GED. He met my mom when she was still in high school, and even though he had just come to this country, she left her house and moved in with him for different reasons in her own home. They had me 3 years later. Though my home life could be called tumultuous, they were trying their best to make sure I had a roof over my head and food on the table. But it was really because of systemic inequities they were facing every single day that made it hard. My dad worked nights so that someone could pick us up from school. They never saw each other because of that, and they tried their best to make ends meet. Because of this, I attended 7 different schools growing up, and every time we moved up on the rung of economic stability. Though I experienced eviction, the judgmental looks of buying food on food stamps, or walking to school because our one car was repossessed, school was always the most stable place and important place in my life. But sometimes school saw my home life, the poverty we lived in, my young immigrant parents only. That's all they could see. So in the 7th grade, after earning straight A's, they didn't put me on the accelerated track, which we know is what puts young people on a path to college. My 7th grade English language arts teacher, finding this out the very first week of 8th grade, was so irate, she went straight to the principal's office and got my track changed. In the 11th grade, I moved to a new high school in a much higher economic area because my dad was being paid a higher rate. I helped him with his resume and made sure he got the interview. We didn't realize that we would be in the same position because of the higher cost of living. However, for the first time, I went to a non-Title I school. Now I was a lower-class brown kid in a rich school. And though I was ranked in the top 20 of my class in my first high school, it was this new school that showed me what I never had access to. Classes that I earned A's in, I would have to retake because I knew nothing compared to my peers. I was very confused. And I knew that the one place I had found solace in was no longer that place. But because I went to a better school, I was able to get a scholarship and, no surprise, become a teacher to help those growing up in a similar background as myself. As someone who was a teacher, worked on policy, and supported a nonprofit for 10 years, I saw the same issues of low expectations for our most marginalized youth, better quality in some schools than others because of zip code, and young people who just needed school to be the place where they could thrive. And I want to say here now that this is not all teachers and not all counselors and not all systems. Mrs. Jackson, who got my classes changed, is my lifesaver. And I believe and know that most teachers are this to students. But as a system, we know that tracking for our most marginalized students happens and that their whole lives' futures are impacted by this. Like Linda on this slide, who was told to stop asking for letters of recommendations because we knew she was just going to stay in Las Vegas anyways. She graduated from UNR, and she is now a student at Touro University to become a physician's assistant in her home community. To students like Eddie, who we're going to hear from soon, we know that this is an issue our students face. And so what can we possibly do as a state? I know that this awesome committee here knows that I'm try so hard to be pragmatic. I understand that we do not have the teachers that we need to have. I know we do not have the support staff that we need to have. And I know that we rank near the bottom when it comes to per pupil funding. But I know that we cannot let adult issues be student issues. So what can we do? The most pragmatic thing that we came up with was when it comes to the college and career readiness diploma. You do have this graphic at your desk. I know it's hard to see up here. What we're saying is, why don't we just allow all young people, regardless of their background or the school they go to be able to take the most advanced coursework or the highest expectations. If you look at the different diplomas we have in our state, the electives are the same, so if you see that down here. And what really is different is that, one, we know there is a GPA requirement. We've heard a lot of feedback about this, which I totally understand. And this is why we want to make this opt-out versus opt-in. One, so we don't take away graduation opportunities for students. And two, so we don't create grade inflation. Really, it's the column on the right, which I would argue from a values-based position, we should probably, I hope, want all students in Nevada to have access to language classes, advanced placement, IB, dual credit, career tech, or work-based learning. You'll see the endorsements on the bottom here. This is what it takes for a young person to graduate with the college and career ready diploma, but because we're allowing young people to opt out based on this bill, if they're not able to access this before the end of the time they graduate, we hope then they were on the advanced, and if not on advanced, they would still graduate on the standard diploma. I'm excited to take questions about this when we get to it. So I'm going to briefly go over the national context. It's just that we were really trying to figure out what are other states doing. There are 35 states that do have a CCR or a higher expectation diploma, but there is really no standard of how different states are doing when it comes to opting in versus opting out. I thought this was really interesting. I shout out our Legislative Council Bureau for doing all this research before the session started. We see in some states, such as the ones on the slide, they do ask for plans, and you'll see that later in the bill when it comes to what young people are doing when they graduate. And then finally, I mean, the question really should be, okay, so then what is happening in Nevada? I know some of our State Board of Education members are here as well, and they've been working really hard on this issue. So these slides come from one of their presentations. So we know, first, less than half of our students graduate on the advanced or the CCR diploma. And when it comes to who has access, my qualitative story I started with matches quantitatively the disproportionality that we see when it comes to who is actually even accessing these diploma types. And when it comes to subgroups, it's even worse. And the question that I really wanted to know is what happens to our young people? I asked Enchi, can we see who is graduating? Do we see the rates when it comes to what diploma young people were on and then they graduate from our system? Remembering that our higher education system has certifications for those who want the work base as well as 2-year and 4-year degrees. And they right now don't have that data of the actual college graduation rates, which they are getting and will publish publicly when they have them. But they were able to at least give me the access rates. So this slide here shows young people now accessing our system of higher education, which diploma did they graduate off of, and you can see, probably no surprise, that a student has a better chance of attending an Enchi institution if they graduated with the college and career readiness diploma or an advanced diploma and had a better chance of attending our 4-year schools. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to my colleague, Dr. Tanya Holmes-Sutton, to share an educator perspective.
Good afternoon, Chair Bilbray Axelrod, Vice Chair Taylor, and members of the committee. My name is Tanya Holmes-Sutton, TONIAHOLMES-SUTTON. I am a National Board Certified Teacher and the Executive Director of Teach Plus Nevada. I support teachers in leadership and advocacy and policy. I sit before you today as an individual who has earned a doctorate degree, but who was also told that she should not go to college, that she should stay home and help her mother take care of the children. In pursuing that doctorate degree, I acknowledge that not only was I dissuaded in high school, but also dissuaded as a classroom practitioner by administrators and my colleagues. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak with you today and to share just a little bit about what my colleagues and I have been working on. On the next slide, there is a summary of the endeavors that we have been pursuing since last year. We had the opportunity to connect with Assemblywoman Mosca this year, but we have been looking at this issue since our 2021-22 cohort. As Teach Plus Fellows, we've hosted focus groups and also had one-on-one sessions with individuals who have attended and graduated from Nevada high schools. We had the opportunity to engage with a diverse number of individuals who are represented in attendance at traditional public schools, at CTEs, at alternative public schools, at public charter. And those individuals identified as white, Black or African American, Latinx, Asian, 2 or more races. They also included those who identified as female and male, him, her, he and him, she and her, they and them. Our graduates articulated through the focus groups and the one-on-one interviews that they wished for greater preparedness for college, career, and community. They acknowledged that even as though some of them were accepted into college, they did not feel as they were prepared to be successful. We had one of our graduates join the focus group from Hong Kong. He appreciated the opportunity to be able to travel and study abroad, but he noted that he did not have confidence in his competency with his peers. We also note that there were individuals who had attended school in other states and then transferred here. In those other states, they were on a trajectory for college and career readiness, and here they were told that they didn't have opportunity to place them in a college and career track. I also acknowledge that the students also asked for greater opportunities to pursue college and career exploration so that they would be better positioned to understand what their options were and to make better and best informed decisions for themselves. In addition to that, those who had the opportunity to participate in internships and mentorships, and those who did not, asked for greater opportunities to do so, acknowledging that they have spent a number of years pursuing interests and spending money on that post-secondary, when if they had had an opportunity for greater college and career exploration and internships and mentorships at the high school level, that they would not have spent thousands of dollars pursuing opportunities that they did not then remain committed to. On the next slide, I want to acknowledge that during the policy summit and as well as working with my Teach Plus fellows, we've had an opportunity to hear from educators. We also have heard their concerns, but here on the slide, we will acknowledge that what we've detailed is that we do have a collective responsibility to serve our students well and to ensure that they are prepared for college, career, and community, and that they have options, that they deserve to have those opportunities. We should not resign ourselves to allowing our students or saying that our students should get the minimum. We also acknowledge that there were colleagues who shared that there should be intentional and strategic engagement of students and connections to real-world applications in their pursuit of college and career exploration and post-secondary success. And lastly, I would acknowledge here, though you have in the exhibit submissions of the work that Teach Plus Nevada has done and the findings and recommendations from the focus groups and the one-on-one interviews, that there was conversation around the inclusion and expansion of those internships in college and career exploration beginning in middle school. As an early childhood educator, I'm going to say to you, I start talking to students about college at 3 and 4 years old. I have a 4-year-old, or I do not have a 4-year-old. I taught a 4-year-old who will graduate this spring from high school. He was very upset with me as he transitioned out of my preschool classroom, and he struggled in kindergarten because he said, "Home Sutton, you lied. You said I was going to college, and I'm in kindergarten." So he's been waiting a long time for this opportunity. He deserves this opportunity. There are students who are not getting this opportunity, and I compel you today to consider adopting AB 241 and giving all of our children what they deserve. Thank you.
Okay, and my name is Eddie Martinez, and I am here to share my story. As I graduated 8th grade, I decided to start my high school journey. I unfortunately had a CCSD teacher attempt to shoot down my dreams. He told me I wouldn't make it past 11th grade, I'd drop out and most likely turn to fast food. I used this as fuel to push forward in life. While attending Las Vegas High School, I realized I was in an environment that did not encourage academic success, leaving students behind and making high school a place for socialization. My high school never encouraged me to reach my potential. A school with so many students facing more than just educational issues did not help prepare me for the future or how to advance in general. They never reached out to see how I was doing. I wasn't learning nor applying myself as I could. No one gave me direction until I finally met my mentor outside of high school, to which they presented me the opportunity to attend CSN High School. I appreciated it so much because this did help me out a lot. I was able to get college credits in high school, and this helped me prove those who had low expectations of me wrong, and led me to join a new type of environment. I'm now a senior at UNR and graduating soon. It took me a little longer due to a firearm accident I had back in my freshman year, first fall semester, resulting in my traumatic brain injury. But due to my accident, I unfortunately was left in a coma and as well had to learn how to do everything again. I am happy to be going back to Las Vegas community once I graduate and plan to give some of my extra time helping our community that I love so deeply. I want to help give back to my community by allowing more access and resources. It will ensure other kids like me coming from low-income families and marginalized communities to have opportunities I could never imagined. I don't know what could have happened if I stayed at Las Vegas High School, but I am certain leaving LVHS was the best outcome because new opportunities opened after going to CSN High School. I hope every student out there has a chance I had to prove everyone wrong and succeed. And that is why I support the bill as well.
Thank you. Finally, Chair and Committee, this is the very brief bill overview. Section 1.5 just calls for what we're sharing, that all high school students will be enrolled in the college and career readiness diploma courses. However, Section 1.5a says after the 9th grade, so that could be 10th, 11th, or 12th, it's just after the 9th grade, the pupil, the parent, or an administrator or a counselor, so one of them, can meet and decide if the student should stay on the current track or if they should take the advanced, the standard, or the adjusted or alternative. Section 1.5b says that students with an individualized education plan, so an IEP, are exempt because they must follow their IEP by law. Well, Section 1.6 defines what an IEP is, and again, trying our best to be pragmatic. Section 2 is a phased implementation plan by grade level so that we're not trying to put this on all of our districts right away. And so before we get to questions, the last thing I'll just say is that I thank you for your time and for considering. And though this is a policy committee, only because this is the biggest thing that comes up, I do want to say on the record, I and all of us that support this bill do support the fiscal implication it would take to make this bill happen for all students in our district. So we do support that and know that that's a thing, but we think that the policy is what's most important. So we're now open for questions, Chair.
Thank you for that presentation. And Eddie, doesn't it feel good to prove him wrong? Absolutely. Thank you for being here and thank you for presenting this bill. Members, I got so caught up that I haven't looked at our signal chat to see, we have a question. Okay. We'll start with Assemblywoman Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Assemblywoman, for bringing this bill forward. And thank you to the presenters. I do appreciate your testimony and your witness to what's wrong in CCSD. So I'll make that a record. Right now, I do have a question about Section 1.5a. Are you saying that individually, or, the student plus the parent plus the administrator and or a counselor?
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to the Assemblywoman. Oh, thank you. Great question. So it is the intent, and we want to make sure if legal that it's correct. The intent was that it would be a pupil, so the student, the parent or legal guardian, so there has to be a parent or legal guardian there, and an administrator or a counselor. So it would be the student, the parent, and the school staff would make the decision together.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification, because I do believe that the parent should be involved. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Next, we will go to Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for bringing this. You know, I am a teacher in a high school where I see this, right? And I see it in a lot of our schools across the state, and I see the need to raise the expectations for our students, and I see my students asking us to raise the expectations on them. I think your story on tracking is accurate. I have taught an honors freshman course, and the kids that come into that course are the ones that the 8th grade teacher decided should be in that course, right? And that's not always a standard process across every school. And I think we need to ensure that our students are getting the skills that they need, right? Even if it's hard, even if it takes more work, that's why we're here, right? But here's my question. I agree completely with the intent of this bill, but it references an NRS, which I have looked up, about the college and career ready diploma. In that NRS, it does not specify what makes up a college and career ready diploma. It just says that NDE can decide what that is. And so my question is, if these are the things that we want for our kids, and I think we do, should we perhaps specify a little more clearly what that means? Because my concern is, if we put this in statute tomorrow, NDE could take away these requirements and then we're back to where we started. So what are some safeguards to ensure it really is a higher level diploma?
Thank you, Assemblywoman. I appreciate that question. Can I ask legal what they think of that? Thank you.
I can ask legal for you. Would you please? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Asher Killian, Committee Counsel. So currently, the Department of Education does have the authority to adopt regulations that set what the diploma requirements are. Those are in NAC 390-430 for the advanced diploma, 390-440 for the standard diploma, and then 390-443 for the college and career ready diploma. As the Assemblywoman stated, those are all set by regulation. None of that is in statute. It certainly would be within the legislature's authority to put all of that in statute instead. I would just note that the complication of that is once the legislature puts it in statute, the legislature controls it and it can only be changed by law. So the legislature would only have the opportunity to modify those during its session once every 2 years.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for that, and we will think about it and work with you on it.
Next, we'll go to Assemblywoman Torres.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Mosca, for the presentation and fellow presenters. I appreciate it. I thought it was a phenomenal presentation. I definitely understand the importance of making sure that we are allowing for students that are to be in rigorous academic environments. My question has to do with, I guess it's section 15B. Looking at, because it's exempting students from disabilities, I think my understanding would be that would only be, I think there should be some language if the IEP team determines that student would not be eligible for it, because obviously there is going to be students with IEPs that should be in rigorous classes and that will be successful receiving the college and career readiness.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. That is definitely the intent, but I will take that, and that is something we can definitely put in.
And to actually piggyback on that, you mentioned IEPs. What about 504s? Would they still?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good question. It does in 15B does mention section 504, so I believe that that's included.
So the same language would probably be necessary to say, but for
yes.
the 504, the IEP holding them back from, they would still be included. Okay. Great.
Thank you, Chair. Yes,
Thank
we
you.
will add that.
Thank you. Other questions? Assemblywoman Taylor, sorry, missed you.
That's okay. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Assemblywoman and presenters, for this really, really important piece of legislation. I'm certainly one that believes in high expectations for low-income kids, for students at Title I schools and others that are some of our most vulnerable, and actually research backs that up. One of the first papers I actually wrote in my master's degree program was about high expectations for all students. My question had to do with, I know we said it looks like you're looking for a phased-in implementation. Can you talk a little bit about what does that look like?
Thank you, Assemblywoman. Yes, great question. So in Section 2 in the bill on page 5, what we're attempting to do is say that this would only start for students in the 9th grade, starting in the 2024-2025 school year. So we really do not want to impact young people, even though we kind of do, but the way policy does, we really don't want to mess with what's happening right now. But so what that means is that with the new coming freshman class, we would put this in. And then the next year, 2025-2026, would be 9th and 10th, and then the following 9th, 10th, and 11th to really give understanding to our school districts, especially those in our rural communities who this would be hard to make sure we have enough sections, teachers, classes, but I think that those students in the rurals would want it as well.
Thank you. May I follow up quickly? Thank you, Madam Chair. And all of our schools, I believe, have this as an option, because that's part of what's in statute to do. And so I would hope that this would really just help to build up those programs that are already in existence. And looking at fiscal, there are only a couple of districts that mention that there should be a fiscal impact. If I read that correctly. So hopefully what that means is we don't want to leave rural students behind either. We want them to have those opportunities for excelling at a higher level and preparing them for whatever future track they decide. So thank you very much for this really important piece of legislation. Thank you, Chair.
Assemblywoman Hanson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Oh my goodness, you are channeling my education hero, Marva Collins from Westside Preparatory Academy in Chicago back in the day. I might be missing things, but based on your presentation, based on things that we have known are going on statistically in our state, this is the path. I am so thrilled. I'm going to, surprise everybody. Wow, money, right? I'm all about, I'm not going to talk specifics. We're here to spend money, and we need to spend it in the right places. And for me, I see this as a path forward for a solution that we really need. And so I got to get my rural counties to settle down. But I just really mainly wanted to make the comment, thank you. This is, like I said, I think a path that we need to consider getting on. The sooner the better. But yes, it's always the rollout. I think that's what all of us have been humbled by, that what we do here, it's the rollout that can get a little tricky. So in humility, I understand that could maybe be difficulty, but I do want to be on the record for saying this is definitely a step, in my humble opinion, watching education issues over multitudes of decades. This helps us make those proficiency and achievement accomplishments that I think that we're all seeking to find. So thank you so much. No question, just thank you.
I know Assemblywoman Marilyn Kirkpatrick used to always say at the end of a comment, right? To make it a question. So we'll just add that, right? Okay. Assemblywoman Thomas has another question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one, since you already have an amendment going, I would like to add my name to your bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Should we just preemptively add you to another one? Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Great presentation, and we'll have you guys sit back. And I know we have a lot of people who want to testify. Completely okay to say me too, I agree, ditto, any sort of thing like that. I'd like to get as many of you guys on the record as I can. It is 3 o'clock straight up. We're going to go to 3:20 in support. Let's see. Oh, you guys sat down at the same time, but we will start in Las Vegas with the first 3 in Vegas. Then we'll come back to Carson City.
Good afternoon, Chair Bilbray Axelrod and Vice Chair Taylor and the Education Committee. My name is Annette Dawson-Owens, here representing the Children's Advocacy Alliance, serving as the School Readiness Policy Director. We're grateful to Assemblywoman Mosca for bringing forward AB 241 and for the foundation and focus she brings to helping all of our students be successful. Every student deserves access to a high-quality education and to be college and career ready upon graduation, with no option being unavailable or unattainable for them and their future. Careers in education are often a freeway with on and off ramps at different times in one's life, depending on when or what one decides to pursue. Raising the bar for education in Nevada and putting in supports necessary to help all our students and be prepared for their future is paramount. We believe this bill does this and is more inclusive for all of our students, as well as it will reduce some of those disparities that we are seeing. Student to guidance counselor ratios at schools are often high, and the graduation degrees can be confusing for parents and others who may not be aware. Therefore, providing a college and career-ready high school diploma that is a higher standard and will better prepare students for a future workforce and their future with an opt-out provision, if it is found necessary, makes a lot more sense. Thank you for this committee for your consideration.
We'll stay in Las Vegas.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Cynthia Mejia, Cynthia. And currently I am a student at UNLV, former student from Chaparral High School. The Fulfillment Fund program has been there for me in my journey to fulfill my dreams. This organization contributes to much of my pursuit to finish college. They have given me the tools necessary to just not only for myself, but just to adhere my education. I actually come here directly from my class, and thanks to my professor that it is why I'm here. It's really crucial for me to just be here. I'm here to support the AB 241 to place high school students on the college and career ready diploma track, giving Nevada Student Foundation for Success, just like me. As a CCSD graduate with this college ready diploma, I graduated with the skills expected of me at university level. In the current system, students are automatically enrolled in a standard diploma. Not all students access to the college and career ready track, meaning they may not be ready for their next step as they graduate high school. Students are leaving high school currently without the foundation necessary for their success, which is really significant and it has a disadvantage for them to embark their own future. This problem will continue to compound. Every single student deserves a chance to graduate from high school, college, and career ready. This bill is an opportunity to put every single kid on the path, not only for myself. For these reasons, I am proud to support AB 241 today. I urge you to vote affirmative.
Next person in Las Vegas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Dr. Brenda Pearson, and I'm here today representing the Clark County Education Association and testifying in support of AB 241. CCEA believes that students across Nevada deserve the opportunity to be prepared for college, career, and beyond. Nevada's economic future is dependent upon the quality of our education system. The low performance of our schools is often cited as one reason why businesses do not come to Nevada. Our state must take steps towards ensuring that our graduating seniors are prepared to enter high-skill, high-wage industries of Nevada's future. Nevada boasts a high graduation rate, but approximately half of all Nevada high school graduates entering into UNR and UNLV must have courses remediated to meet their current academic needs. Nevada has communicated to students that the ultimate goal of the K-12 education system is graduation, nothing more and nothing less. Nevada's low expectations for students impacts their belief in themselves and the goals they set for their own future. CCA believes that Nevada students can and will do better when offered a path towards college or career. Enrolling all Nevada students in the College and Career Ready diploma gives every student the opportunity to succeed at their highest level. During the presentation today, Assemblywoman Mosca shared data that demonstrates the lack of equity and access at the College and Career Readiness Diploma. This is a session about accountability at every level of our education delivery system, including the equitability and accessibility of educational opportunities. Clark County Education Association supports Assembly Bill 241, and we thank Assemblywoman Mosca for her leadership on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll come to Carson City.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Assembly Education Committee. My name is Jesse Cruz, Jesse. I am a graduate of the Clark County School District High School Magnet Program, Cane Springs to be specific, and I'm here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 241. As someone whose older brother graduated from a magnet program similar to mine with an advanced honors diploma on top of the College and Career Readiness honor, the process of going through and advocating for yourself to receive a diploma that reflects the hard work you put into not only graduating, but receiving as much financial aid as possible at only 17 years old is unbelievable and should simply not be the case. What AB 241 does is streamline the process for excellence in academics, allowing students to begin the track of receiving a prestigious honor on their diplomas that exemplifies and highlights hard work and employability. What I especially appreciate about the language in this bill and Assemblywoman Torres' commentary questioning is its flexibility for students with disabilities regarding their education plans. As a student who had surgery this summer entering my sophomore year of high school, I had excellent teachers that tried to accommodate my needs as someone with a physical disability recovering from a physically and mentally strenuous spinal operation that I'm glad to have fully recovered from the age of 15. And I'm glad that this grace is being extended to students as well with proper enforcement, hopefully. With that, I thank the committee for listening to my testimony and hope that you vote yes on AB 241.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. I'm Kevin Osorio Hernandez, and I'm a first-generation student at Nevada State, majoring in history and a constituent of AD 14. And I'm also a supporter of AB 241. So firstly, I want to thank my Assemblywoman for this amazing bill. Her story is similar to mine, and I actually see myself in her shoes one day. I graduated from Valley High School in 2021, and because my first-generation identity, I did not have a person in my family to look up to or to seek guidance from. And subsequently, I felt as though I was stuck in the standard diploma designating me as a standard student within my high school education. If only I had been tracked into the IB or advanced placement programs, I would have received the highest high school diploma with the highest rigor. This opt-out system would have taken away the burden of navigating a system that often does not work for first-gen students. So with that, please support AB 241 so that my siblings and other students receive the highest possible diploma. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Bilbray Axelrod, Vice Chair Taylor, and members of the Assembly Education Committee. My name is Jeff Horn, and I am the Executive Director of the Clark County Association of School Administrators and Professional Technical Employees, CASAPI, representing over 1,450 CCSD administrators. CASAPI is in support of AB 241. As a former high school principal, I saw firsthand the positive impact that educators have on students. Too many times students, especially minority students, are told that this is where you will do your best. Don't take that class, it is too difficult. You're doing just fine just where you are. There is nothing more powerful than a teacher or an administrator who believes in a student and encourages them to achieve at a higher level. In my past life as a high school principal at CCSD, our staff created an AP World History class with the same rigor and curriculum as any other section. The goal was to select students who have never taken an honors or AP IB class, targeting underrepresented student subgroups. We would enroll them in the World History AP class. We recruited an amazing teacher who nurtured, guided, and believed in their success. That amazing teacher was Ms. Vaden Fowler, who has sadly since passed away. At the end of that school year, students in Ms. Fowler's World History AP class achieved at the same rate as honors AP students who were enrolled in the other traditional World History AP classes. Ms. Fowler's students achieved because she believed in them. It was never a question in her mind, it was an expectation. Students need adults in their lives to encourage and push them to achieve. even when they are unsure. I thank you for the time.
Thank you. And with that, we're going to go and take a couple callers. BPS, can you put the first caller in support?
Callers, if you would like to testify in support of AB 241, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 759, you're unmuted on our end. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm Lauren Bowie, a junior at West Career and Technical Academy in Las Vegas, Nevada. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to testify for Assembly Bill 241. Here at WCTA with my CTE program, we get a college and career readiness diploma. This isn't something that I actively chose or thought about. However, I am glad to be given this opportunity because it gives me a better education. However, other students may not have access to or the knowledge about their diploma type. By making a college and career readiness diploma opt-out, we are providing more equity in education and improving the quality of education for all our students in Nevada. Thank you, Assemblywoman Mosca, for bringing this bill forward.
We'll take another caller.
Hi, good afternoon, committee members. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you today. My name is Sebastian Cardenas. I am a CCSD educator and a constituent of Assembly District 28, here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 241. As a high school freshman in 2013, I attended the school with the lowest high school graduation rate in CCSD at the time. What was said to us in our freshman orientation was, all you have to do is get this amount of credits, not do anything too bad, and you can graduate. Nothing was mentioned about career and college opportunities. The system gave up on us achieving those things before we even had a chance to give up on ourselves. If it wasn't for adults in my life that held me to the expectation of continuing my education and me having decided that I needed to at the age of 5, I would be in the same grave or jail cell many of my friends who were also in that room are in now. The current opt-in status of the college and career readiness degree sends the same message. Every student deserves to feel worthy of their dreams. Our school system needs to do that for them. Please help uphold that ideal by working to pass Assembly Bill 241. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. We have a little under 10 minutes, so I'm going to go back to Las Vegas for the next 3.
Hello, my name is Michelle Tapia. I am a recent graduate of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and an emerging professional with the American Institute of Architects. As a student in a low-income minority household, my family and I were never made aware of opportunities like the college and career readiness track. And going into college, I felt like I was incredibly unprepared. So I urge you to support Bill 241 and give all of our students the opportunities they deserve and help prepare them for their future. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Tristan Osorio, Tristan-Osorio, and I am in support of AB 241. I also went to West Career and Technical Academy, where I received my advanced honors diploma. And having that diploma and that study track allowed me to be highly successful in my college years, where I switched from civil engineering to architecture, and now I am an emerging professional at TSK Architects. And having this foundation of having strong study habits is imperative to the success of establishing a strong future workforce in Las Vegas, Nevada, and other parts of Nevada. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ivan Gonzalez Vasquez, IVAN-GONZALEZ-VAZQUEZ. I'm a senior at the UNLV School of Architecture and president of our American Institute of Architecture Students Chapter, and I'm here to testify in favor of Assembly Bill number 241. To me, this bill is not just about the diploma, it's also about educating parents and students about what their education actually means. As a first-generation college student, I was pushed to graduate and pushed to go to college, but I don't think people like me and in our community really understand what that means, and the way that the school system is set up currently doesn't allow students and parents to kind of understand what the education actually means and not just as a checklist. Thank you.
Now we'll come up to Carson City.
Hello, my name is Miriam Lachica, MIRIAM LACHICA. I'm here in support of AB Bill 241. I graduated high school from a college prep charter school in East Las Vegas that I now work at helping students like myself with college access. Our school does not use a standard diploma, only in special circumstances. As we consider the relationship between teacher expectations and student outcomes, I ask that you hold student success and education in higher regard. As it is now, the standard diploma does not adequately prepare students for higher education. Many competitive post-secondary programs require credits from classes that students are not required to take or simply do not have access to. And students often do not realize this until it's much too late. Making the Career and College Readiness Diploma the new standard will raise the standard for everyone and will make the students expect more from themselves. It's better to be optimistic about what our students can do rather than focus on what some think they can't. If I hadn't had teachers that believed in me before I even believed in myself, I probably wouldn't have been graduating. Probably wouldn't be graduating from Ford University in May. And this bill is a clear example of how we can challenge our soft bigotry of low expectations that we have for students in Nevada. I adamantly support AB 241, and I urge that you do as well. Thank you.
Cynthia Romero for the record. I am an educator from Las Vegas and also a high school program manager, as well as a constituent from AB 14. My experience in education has allowed me to inspire many elementary school students, which I teach them that through rigorous academics, they will achieve life's fullest opportunities, be it college, trade schools, or the military. However, this momentum of rigorous academics is kind of challenging for them once they reach high school, because there's no transparency on how they could achieve the highest level of diploma. I've had a couple of high school students come to me and tell me that they've had to let go of their opportunities because they were unaware that their courses were not fulfilling the requirements to go out of state to an out-of-state university, such as having to do 2 years of a foreign language, which is required in California. I had students obtain a full ride athletic scholarship and have been turned away because their academics did not meet the requirements. As I started to see many students miss out on opportunities, I recall asking my students if they knew what they needed to achieve to be on track for college, and a lot of them said no. It became worrisome to me because I was working with students that wanted to pursue college, so I could only imagine what was happening to students that were not part of our program and were not getting the support my students were getting. By supporting AB 214, you are supporting the opportunity to provide students with opportunities to succeed and opportunities to life's fullest opportunities.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Nick Vasiliadis here for the record on behalf of the Nevada Resort Association. We'd like to thank the sponsor for bringing forth this bill. We'd like to thank the committee for what appears to be bipartisan support. And as the state's single largest funder of education, we too agree that this is the right path forward. So thank you, and we urge your support on this bill.
Thank you. We'll go back to Las Vegas. We have a couple more minutes, so if you guys could make your testimony very brief so I can get a few more people up in Carson City, I'd appreciate it. Begin in Las Vegas.
Good afternoon, committee members. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to sit before you today. My name is Angelica Tabuhara, Angelika Tabujara. I'm a first-generation immigrant college student at UNLV and also a proud graduate of CCSD at Chaparral High School. As a scholar of Fulfillment Fund Las Vegas, I've received additional support and guidance than your typical graduate of CCSD. As a result, I completed the Career and College Ready or Advanced Honors Diploma. That is why I'm here to support AB 241. There are many reasons to support AB 241, but I want to highlight my perspective as a passionate high school student athlete. I noticed a significant difference between the peers that I had in my advanced classes and the teammates I had on the field and court. Today, because of the guidance that me and my peers had, many of us grew to be confident about our college journey and career options. But unfortunately, many of my teammates who focused on the only choice they felt they had, sports scholarships, never had the opportunity to have an alternative choice like I did. Because of the resources I was given, I wasn't trapped. I was given the guidance guidance, support, and genuine care to succeed in anything and everything that I chose to pursue going into college. Furthermore, I can confidently say that when I first stepped into college, it especially came easy to seek support from my counselors who had been with me since high school to relieve that sudden pressure that higher education put on me. Even until this day, despite my tumultuous college journey, college career programs like Fulfillment Fund have helped me stay in college. With that said, all students deserve to graduate from high school, college, and career ready, no matter what their next step is. By enrolling every high school student in the college and career ready diploma, we will be putting every student on a path to success beyond high school and creating opportunities for brighter futures for kids, families, and our communities. For these reasons, I am proud to support AB 241 today. Thank you.
Thank you. And we are over time, but I'm going to stay in Las Vegas. And if you would just say your name and who you represent and that you're in support of the bill, and then we'll come up to Carson City to do the same thing.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Jeff Jones, and I represent CORE, powered by the Rogers Foundation, and I support AB 241. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Trevor Parrish, and I'm the Manager of Government Affairs at the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is in support of AB 241. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if you guys could do the same thing up here, perfect.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Aaron Ibarra. I represent Southern Nevada Building Trades, and we are in full support of AB 241. Thank you.
Hello, Tamika Henry, parent, most importantly, but co-founder of Rise Up Nevada Family Advocacy Group and education chair for NAACP Chapter 1111, and we are in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Jonathan Norman, Nevada Coalition of Legal Service Providers, ditto.
For the record, Eric Jang, ERICJNG, Acting Executive Director for One API Nevada, and also today with my hat, Director of Outreach for Asian Community Development Council, proud sponsor for College Readiness Bootcamp for the 8 years straight. Proud to support this bill. Thank you.
Patricia Haddad, Director of Government Relations for the Clark County School District. We're in support of this legislation. Thank you.
Elise Monroy Marsala on behalf of ACE Charter School. Ditto.
That was fantastic.
Anthony Curry, Director of Public Policy, Opportunity 180. Ditto.
Alejandro Rodriguez, Director of Government Relations for Nevada System of Higher Education, and she's in support.
Felicia Ortiz, President of the State Board of Education, speaking on behalf of myself, in support.
Chelsea Capurro on behalf of the Urban Chamber and the Nevada Association of School Administrators. Ditto.
Juliana Garcia, GARCIA. I'm a student at UNR and I support AB 241. Thank you.
Anthony Ruiz, Nevada State College, ditto.
Aiden Downey, Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, ditto.
Tamara Hudson, Teach Plus Nevada, ditto.
Jack Giese, RTC of Southern Nevada, ditto.
Tim Hughes on the Nevada State Board of Education, speaking on my own behalf, also in support.
Gil Lopez with Charter School Association of Nevada. I'm here in support. Ditto.
We're going to take these last two, then I'm going to go down to Vegas, and then we're going to close support testimony.
Malia Pobletti, student member to the Board of Education. Ditto.
Marinette Solis, student at the University of Nevada, Reno, and I ditto.
Okay, Vegas, last three.
Alexander Avila, AV as in Victor, ILA, current student at UNLV, and I'm just going to ditto what everybody else said.
Allison Tebow, Counselor for Fulfillment Fund Las Vegas, President of the National Organization for Student Success, and student at UNLV, ditto.
John Etzel, Boys Town, Nevada, and Rooted Charter School, and parent, ditto.
Thank you. And with that, we will close support for another one of Assemblywoman Moscow's amazing supported bills, and we'll open it up for opposition. If there's anyone in opposition, please come to the table. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Daly, Nevada State Education Association, the voice of Nevada educators for over 120 years. We certainly appreciate the intent of this bill, yet we are in opposition. Today I will be reading some comments submitted by Carlana Kulseth, teacher at Cimarron High School in Las Vegas. Carlana writes, quote, I'm in opposition to AB 241 to place all high school students on the college and career diploma track. I teach 240 students out of all 9th and 10th grade students on our campus. 9% are proficient in math, and 22% of those students are proficient in writing and reading skills. What if none of the college and career readiness courses being offered at a school appeal to a student? I cannot imagine that we're going to force students through 4 years of courses that didn't interest them. We should be working on making sure students want to show up to learn, not push them away with requirements that don't interest them. Nevada is currently not funding our public education system at an optimal level. There's a teacher shortage. What support will be given to school districts to hire more teachers who can teach the additional college and career readiness courses? If our state requires students to take college and career readiness courses, there needs to be lasting commitment to support students in this manner. This commitment needs to include optimal funding as well as ensuring districts are not carrying the burden of state requirement for graduation and have financial support to hire the highly qualified teachers to teach those courses. Thank you for your time and attention. Sincerely, Carlana Coolseth. Lastly, I just want to add that SB 241 would lead to additional costs to school districts. We know that there's 3 school districts projected to receive no increased funding from the state in the next biennium. And college and career readiness includes an emphasis on high-stakes testing. NSCA has been vocal over the years about moving away from a culture of high-stakes testing instead focusing on classroom learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If I could just remind everyone who, if you have a business card and you testified, if you could give your card to our committee secretary, that would help a lot in our minutes. Anyone else in opposition? Anyone in Las Vegas? Not seeing anyone. BPS, is there anyone on the phone lines?
Callers, if you would like to testify in opposition to AB 241, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. One moment, Chair.
Hello, this is Peter Guzman, President of the Latin Chamber of Commerce, 100% in support of AB 241. Thank you.
I had a feeling that that was going to happen. We are still in opposition. BPS, is there anyone in opposition?
One moment, Chair. Caller with the last 3 digits 558, please press star 6 to unmute your microphone.
Karen Villatoro, and I am also in support. I'm so sorry I didn't get through in the other queue. Just wanted to let you guys know that I support the bill for AB 241.
Thank you. And with that, we're going to close opposition. Move to neutral. Is there anyone in neutral in either Las Vegas or Carson City? If so, please come to the table. I see someone walking in Las Vegas. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. Katie Gilbertson with the Governor's Office of Workforce Innovation. For the record, here to support in neutral for AB 241. Goen is committed to building a talent pipeline for Nevada businesses. AB 241 prepares more students for career success, and that builds a homegrown workforce that will help the state achieve its long-term economic goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in neutral? BPS, anyone on the line in neutral?
Callers, if you would like to testify in neutral for AB 241, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to provide neutral testimony at this time.
Okay, and with that, would you like to make any closing comments?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for a committee. I really appreciate it. We will continue to work on it, and I just wanted to say that I know that I wouldn't be here if it weren't for that teacher that believed in me enough to change my track, and I hope we can do that for all of our young people. Thank you.
Thank you, and with that, we will close the hearing on AB 241, and we are going to try to hear the bill. I'm going to open the hearing on AB 228. Our own Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch be headed down to the table. And just begin when you're ready. I know it'll take you a minute or so to get down there and clear the room from Team Mosca.
Right.
All right, begin when you're ready.
So, oh, perfect, thank you. We were waiting for the computer, so. Okay, are we waiting for people to return, or are we just? Okay, perfect. All right, thank you to Chair Bilberry-Axelrod and Vice Chair Anderson and all of my excellent colleagues on this most excellent committee. I am Assemblywoman Selena LaRue Hatch from District 25, and I am here to present on another bill to raise expectations for our students and make sure that every student is having the opportunity to get the skills they need to graduate. Before we continue, I'll let my colleague introduce herself.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, Committee, for allowing us to present today. I'm super nervous, so in front of students, I do great. In front of adults, I'm shaking like a leaf. So my name is Julie Wakefield. I retired from Washoe County School District last year after 25 years of teaching geography. Now in my semi-retired life, I'm a geography instructor at Truckee Meadows Community College, a College Board consultant for AP Human Geography, and the Professional Development Coordinator for the National Council for Geographic Education. Needless to say, I've dedicated my professional life to the teaching of geography and supporting other teachers who do too.
And Selena LaRue Hatch, for the record, you know me as your colleague, but I am also, I think as we all know, a social studies teacher. I teach world history. I have spent my career teaching world history. To give you some background, I helped write the standards that we just recently adopted a few years ago in world history, well, and in fact, in all of social studies. And I was really one of the driving forces in that committee to make sure that our standards were truly global, that they truly represented every group that is in history and were not just Eurocentric as they used to be. And Julie and I have both been very active in the writing of the curriculum within Washoe County School District. We're very active within the social studies community. And through that work, we came to this bill. So this bill comes from the teaching community. This has been a push within the community for a long time in order to support our students. Now, as we jump in, I'd like to explain what geography is, because many people believe geography is looking at maps, and that is not what geography is. And so I am going to show you a very quick geography lesson. Normally this takes half a class period, and we're going to do it in about 2 minutes. So you have a handout that is geography in your Starbucks. I ask my kids to think about the 4 main ingredients in a Java chip frappuccino, and they list them, and then I want them to think about where did that ingredient come from. Right? Who is the first person that looked at a cow and decided to milk it and drink what came out? Right? Like, where did chocolate come from? Where does coffee come from? Then I ask them to think about, where does it come from today? Where is it grown? How do we get it here for your morning frappuccino? And yes, my students do come in with a morning frappuccino. And then, who consumes it the most? Now, normally I'd let you have some think time to try to have those answers, but I'm just going to tell you the answers today because we got to get going. So if you were to say chocolate, these are the places. The red is where chocolate originates. It's Mesoamerican. The green is where it is most grown in West Africa today. And the blue, that is where chocolate is most consumed per capita today. And there's a lot of cultural significance to cacao in Mesoamerica. There's a lot of colonialism tied into Africa. There is modern child slavery issues tied to Nestle and colonial issues with chocolate production in Africa. There's a whole lot of global stuff going on. If you were to say sugar, sugar comes from India, but it was brought to Brazil as part of colonization there. The reason that Brazil has some of the largest Afro-Latino populations is because slaves were brought in to grow sugar on those plantations. And the slave trade was largely tied to sugar, which many people don't know. And obviously today, the people that consume the most sugar per capita are us, the United States. We can continue. Cows come from the Near East. From Southwest Asia, excuse me. They are now largely in India, and milk is most consumed in Eastern Europe today. And I won't go into all of the details of these. Like I said, these are usually a huge lesson, but the same thing for chocolate. We can see the place where it originates, the place where it's grown, and the place where it's consumed are all very different places. And so when you come to all of it, even ice is the one that is American. There actually was an ice industry. We used to export ice from Northeast United States, and that's why ice in your drinks is a very typically American thing that you don't always find everywhere else. And the reason I show all of this to you is because I want you to know that even in this one drink that you might not think about is the entire history of the world. Our global cultures coming together and blending in a very harmonious way, and is an entire global supply chain which gets disrupted when we have conflicts and when we have global pandemics and when we have weather issues and when we have everything else. And so this is what I want you to understand. When we're talking about geography, we are talking about modern issues, we are talking about culture, we are talking about why is the world the way it is today. And as we continue, I noticed we actually had our third presenter. He was just teaching geography at UNR, but it looks like he was able to join us, so I'll pause for a moment and let him introduce himself.
Hi there. I'm Dr. Adam Chank, ADAMCSANK. I am a professor and chair of the Geography Department at the University of Nevada, Reno. As Representative LaRue Hatch was just saying, geography is a critical issue to the world today. Geography is more than just maps and knowing the state capitals. It's about connections between people, connections between places, connections between people and place, and connections between the environment and society. All of the big issues the world's facing today are fundamentally tied to space and place, and they are geographic issues. And to grapple with those issues requires a population that can assess and use geographic information to make these decisions. For example, how could you understand environmental justice issues around urban heat and its impacts on disadvantaged populations in Las Vegas or Reno without understanding both the scientific dimensions of urban heat waves and the social aspects that underlie why those populations are disadvantaged? Or how could you understand the interplay of water resource issues and policies, how they impact agriculture, mining, and communities in rural Nevada? Geography and the connections studied in that discipline are at the heart of those issues. More and more fields in STEM and engineering are becoming interdisciplinary and in their focus, and geography can also serve as a way to lower that barrier of entry to STEM fields. Geography can serve as a way to engage students of anxiety around math and science in a way that keeps their interest by focusing on concepts and an applied approach to math and science. And it shows them that, yes, you can do science, even if you don't think you're good at it. I see this all the time in my freshman Introduction to Geography course, which includes mostly non-science majors. Likewise, geography can also serve as a way to demonstrate to STEM-focused students that the humanities and social sciences also have value and are equally important by focusing on how society and science interact and what the interplay between those are. And that is sort of where I'm going to sort of move my time so that we can keep this moving forward. Thank you.
Julie Wakefield for the record. Geography of 2023 is the most relevant global course taught today. Geography is so much more than what people think, which is memorizing locations and capitals. As you can already see, we've already told you it's more than that. Geography is the science of understanding the spatial organization of space and place. Geography is the science that uses fieldwork, observation, and technology to gain that scientific spatial understanding. Our students are global citizens but don't know much about the world. They take for granted the power of globalization because for them, it's always how it's been. They don't understand the interconnectedness our world has today and the impacts it has on our everyday lives. At a local scale, geography is everywhere. Urban geography and transportation infrastructure. Why does the spaghetti bowl keep getting bigger? Why did the price of eggs spike and now I'm going back down? Contagious diffusion with regional outbreaks and supply chains trying to make up for those deficits. Why the development of the industrial park on USA Parkway have an impact on local housing markets and the demand for skilled labor requiring statewide education systems to respond appropriately. On an international scale, geography is everywhere. How does a cargo ship getting stuck in the Suez Canal impact global trade and supply chains and Christmas? How does a global pandemic impact the auto industry when microchips that most cars require now and are only made in 2 locations in the world? How is that affected when those 2 factories are shut down by a global pandemic? How does understanding the cultural heritage of the people of Ukraine and Russia help lead to a better understanding of the Ukraine-Russia conflict? Only a better understanding, not the answer to that one. At a national scale, geography is everywhere. How is urban planning responding to environmental and social injustices? How is urban planning responding to food, medical, and daycare deserts? How are urban areas responding to remote workers that's changing their economic and demographic makeup of those central business districts? Many of my examples are from human geography, but the physical geography branch is just as important. Can we talk about this winter? Hello? That would be global warming. That would be the human impact on our environment. Access to resources and their environmental impact. Lithium mining. The impact of urban heat islands, as we have said in Las Vegas and Reno, and so much more, is the field of geography today.
So I think you can see these are skills that we believe that our students need to be prepared to compete in a global economy. We are in an increasingly global world, and the rest of the world is having an impact on us, whether we realize it or not. And so we want to make sure that our students are being prepared with those skills.
Geography will develop the spatial thinking skills that will help other social studies classes. It'll introduce technologies to students that are involved in every sector of the economy. Technologies like GIS, remote sensing, all of which go from everyday life. Your cell phones is geographic technology, you guys. Farming is now done with geospatial technology. Where does our food come from? We've already talked about that. Offering this as a ninth grade course will help fill that learning gap. As a geography teacher who got students as a sophomore, who didn't have a social studies class ninth grade, okay, their brains are on other things, not trying to remember what they learned in middle school. And so the continuity, as we know from other subjects, language, science, math, social studies has a gap. We need to fill that gap.
And to clarify that, for those of us that are not in a classroom or in a high school, right now our students don't take a social studies freshman year. They have a gap year. Then they come in sophomore year and they are expected to learn the entire history of the world in 1 year, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so as a result, world history is one of our top failed courses. It is my belief, and I think the belief of the social studies community, that this would help alleviate that we would have far fewer students failing world history if they were prepared with geography beforehand. In addition to the fact that I think, as our last testimony from my colleague pointed out, we should have high expectations of our students and we should ensure they're graduating with the skills that they need. And so this is twofold. This is tackling a gap and an issue that we are seeing with our students, and also ensuring that our diplomas are meaningful. These are all of the states that require geography in high school. You can see that there are many, and we are not on that list.
I would love to see Nevada on this list. And as I've talked to colleagues in many of these states in the past couple days, asking if they could give me some information. Do they see this as an additional burden to students, or do they see this as an advantage? And without going into data, because I gave them very little time and they're all overworked classroom teachers, they anecdotally could tell me that they saw geographic thinking skills in upper level social studies classes. They could see patterns that they would talk about, like in migration in U.S. history, and looking in their civics course when we talk about redlining and gerrymandering, that's just not a political process, it's a spatial pattern. Okay, and so we're looking at all of these social studies working together, and by not having a geography course in there, we're missing a really important link.
And I will pass it to our colleague on Zoom just briefly so he can speak to what he's seeing in his students at the university level.
I often find it a little bit frustrating in my introductory geography classes, where sometimes you get students who come in that don't even know which side of the United States the Atlantic Ocean is on. And it actually makes it very hard to teach more advanced concepts when this basic knowledge is lacking. I will say students that have taken geography courses often have the ability to grasp these patterns and to understand these connections when we start talking about how events that may have happened in the past could impact what's happening today, or how events that may be happening in other parts of the world are impacting places today. Also, being able to read maps and gather basic visual information is a skill that we do teach in geography, not just with maps, but read graphs, read figures, and these are critical skills that anyone in society needs to develop.
So Selena LaRue Hatch for the record, on to the bill. So AB 228 means to address this gap and to raise the expectations for our students. So what it would do is it would add geography as a graduation requirement for high school. Currently, students have to take a half credit of American government, 1 credit of American history, a half credit of economics, and then they are allowed an or. They can take 1 credit in world history or geography. We are saying it's an and. So there will be 4 credits of social studies. Now, I understand that people get concerned when we are adding courses, but what I would like to point out is I teach world history, but I have also taught geography. At my school and many other schools, geography is an honors course. And as I mentioned when our colleague presented on the last bill, the kids that get chosen to take geography are tracked. They are chosen by their 8th grade teacher at random for honors material, whatever that teacher decides honor material is. And I believe every student deserves to learn this. I believe every student should have these skills. And in the course that I have taught, here's the other component we haven't mentioned. I teach at a very diverse school. In my geography course, that is the one time in the curriculum where every student in my classroom gets to see their culture positively reflected in the curriculum. And I don't think that happens enough. And I think that this is something that is important for all of our students to have their cultures honored and recognized and taught in our schools so that they can see that. So this would change those credits. Now, we are not requiring additional credits to graduate. The standard diploma would still be 23 credits. The way we are doing that is we are changing one of the flex credits. So currently, NDE requires 2 flex credits. Those flex credits can be filled with math, science, or geography. We are saying one of those flex credits now has to be geography. You can still do math or science for the other one, and there is still plenty of room in the schedule for electives. If you still want to take more math and science, there is room for that, but we're just saying explicitly, geography is a science, it is a social science, it includes math. We think that it encompasses those other things, and it is worthy of its own place. The second part of the bill, you'll notice that there's some compulsory language in there. That is to make sure that the State Board of Education adopts these standards within a certain time period. So we want this to go into effect for the class of 2029, and we're going to go into all of those requirements in just a moment. Before we get to that, I just want to make it clear. This does not require more credits for graduation. It does not require new certifications for teachers. All of our social studies teachers are licensed to teach geography, so it does not require that additional change in licensure. And our students will still have plenty of elective opportunities. Many high schools are on a 7-credit schedule. That means by the time they graduate, they will have taken 28 credits. You will notice a standard diploma requires 23 credits. That's with 5 elective credits built in and the flex credits. So in addition to the electives and the flex credits, they've got 5 extra credits to do whatever they want with those credits. That is so in case they fail, there's some redundancy built in, but I just want to be clear, we're not taking away their options. This is a side-by-side showing the change so you can actually see the change we're making. We are adding world history and geography as separate courses. We're taking away 1 flex credit. And then the timeline. I am in this community. I have been part of the standards writing. I've been part of curriculum. I didn't want to do this overnight. So the next school year would be used to write standards. The year after that would be used to write curriculum. And then it would start in the 2025-26 school year for the class of 2029, because we did not want to surprise seniors with, hey, guess what? You now have to take this course before you can graduate, and you didn't know about it your entire high school career. So it is going to move up with them. And I will pause for a moment and let Julie explain a little bit of why we need that time to write those standards and curriculum.
So currently in the Nevada State Standards for Social Studies, there are 4 geography standards that are dense, complex, and possible to teach on their own, let alone incorporate into other social studies courses. So as a geography teacher, my responsibility was with the social studies standards was not just to teach geography, even though that was the title of my class. My job was to also incorporate the civic standards, the history standards, and the economic standards to the best of my ability. Well, I have training, most of it taken upon myself, to learn the content, to be able to incorporate those into my geography classes. Okay, so every social studies teacher, according to the standards, should be teaching every single part of those standards. Unfortunately, geography has become, since the early 70s-ish, the stepchild of social studies, because it was maps. So we do maps in world history. Let's show a map of the Roman Empire. That's geography, right? That's not geography anymore. Okay, and so we need to expand their exposure to the different social studies. And geography is not historical perspective, it's spatial perspective. And so we're not looking at things linearly, sorry, it's getting late. We're looking at things spatially, okay? And so it does take time to train the thinking. And if we're doing this in 9th graders, we have to start developing their critical thinking. And this is a great way to do this by looking at what geography is, maps, charts, graphs, the world. Why is this important to them? Why is this happening? That's building critical thinking. So we're step number 1 in the process. Now, across the United States, geography doesn't have to be a freshman course. In fact, with the AP course, it's a great debate on whether we offer AP Geography as 9th graders or seniors. Granted, AP Geography does great with seniors because they have so much more life experience. But I know my students taking AP Geography as sophomores work towards that. So this timeline works really well to be able to get them ready for implementing this course.
Okay, and then just the last thing is, in the course of drafting this bill, we noticed that the diploma that NDE has created does not currently align with NRS. So if you'll notice in NRS, which I have highlighted, we are requiring, as I said, the half credit in government, the 2 credits in American history, world history, geography, and the 1 half credit in economics. That is not currently listed on the standard diploma. And I can pass it to our illustrious counsel to talk about why that is an issue, but at his advice, we included that compulsory language to make sure they are actually getting aligned, so we're not out of compliance. You want him to explain that?
No, in fact, we are going to lose several members in just a few minutes, and I know we have questions, so let me know when you're ready.
We're on to the questions.
Okay.
So
all right.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, I know we're, Assemblyman De Silva, you had a question. I know we're going to lose you in a minute.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you again for a great presentation, and I just want to give a shout out to my colleague, Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch, for being not just a teacher, but the best of teachers out there, social studies teachers. So thank you. My question is this. So I know there's some concern amongst some folks in the education community about the addition of an extra, mandatory credit requirement and what kind of effects that may have on failure rates and high school graduation rates. I just wanted to put that out to you and see how you would address that questions.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. I know people get concerned when we talk about graduation requirements. I believe that this will actually help our graduation requirements because, as I mentioned, world history is one of our top failed courses. So I believe students coming into world history more prepared means that they are less likely to fail that course. So while, yes, there is an opportunity for freshmen to fail a course that they didn't have to take before, there will be significantly fewer sophomores that are failing world history. And I think, as our previous presentation pointed out, I really think we need to look at the expectations we have for our students and ensure we're holding them to the highest expectations and we're truly giving them the opportunity to get the skills they need to be successful. Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Assemblywoman Torres.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I definitely see value in having a geography program, but I do have some concerns because when I looked at the flex credit to see what the flex credit requires, like the argument here is that 1 credit of geography is more important than giving students the opportunity to take CTE classes. The argument here is that that year is more important than a fourth year of mathematics, which is often required for entry into universities. Or they could take geography because there's also the flex credit that they could use it for social studies or science. So I guess I'm not understanding. I just don't know that I see that that this is so critical that we don't already have this. Like, don't we already allow for geography to be taken? This is already a class that is offered at our high schools throughout the community. Maybe we can have some type of push for there to be more credits available, but I just don't know that it's more important than those classes. I also do have concerns, and I don't know what has been done to address the issue that, oftentimes our students go to school for their CTE classes. They're going, and I am an educator at school with a strong, robust CTE program, and our kids come for those CTE classes. And so that's why they come to school. I can tell you that right now they're not coming for geography, and they're not coming for my English class either.
Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch for the record. I would argue some of my geography kids are coming for my geography class, but I understand the argument, and we're not taking away any of those. I don't think it is an or. They still have the other flex credit. They still have the 5 electives. They still have the additional room built into their schedule. And I would like to point out, in the College and Career Readiness Diploma, which we just heard in this committee, it seemed like was pretty excited about, that takes away both flex credits. That takes away significantly more than this one does. And it mandates significantly more. And it restricts significantly more. And I think if we are on board, and I am on board on that bill, if we are on board of raising our expectations on that one, then it makes sense on this one. And I don't think it is an either or, but I also think civics is critical. And I think social studies is critical. And I think these are skills that our kids need in the real world. I think that social studies is critical thinking. It is learning how to analyze evidence. It is learning how to craft an argument. It is learning how to get along when you have different viewpoints. And you can't agree, but you can have a civil discussion. And I think those are skills that we are critically lacking in the world today. And I think that this is one of the most important classes that a student can take. And yes, it is offered at some schools. But in Washoe, I think we counted there were 4 high schools that offer it. And even when we offer it, it is only for those tracked honors kids. And so it is not being widely offered to everyone. And I think this is a course that everyone deserves to take.
Next, did you have a follow-up? No. Next, we'll go to Assemblywoman Moscow.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for this. I know that you had told me before you talked to NDE about it, so I'd just love to know more and just kind of talk about that on the record.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Selena LaRue Hatch for the record. I have talked with NDE and I have talked with their social studies coordinator, and we've worked with her in the past on standards, and we are working with them to make sure that the process is smooth and that they have everything that they need for this to be successful. They obviously can't testify in support or opposition on that, and she has let me know she cannot do that either way, but we are definitely including them in the conversation.
We have a question from the Vice Chair, but I'm going to have Asher Killian discuss.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Asher Killian, Committee Counsel. So just to respond to the issue that the Assemblywoman had brought up during her presentation about the difference between the required courses in NRS and the graduation requirements. So NRS 389-018, which is being amended by this bill, establishes the courses that pupils are required to take in high school. It does not establish a requirement that they successfully complete those courses, but merely that they enroll in the courses. Whereas the units of credit that are required for graduation are established by the state board, as discussed during a previous bill, for each of the different types of diplomas. When SB 249 was enacted in 2017, which added the half unit of credit in economics, I think there was an intent at the time that the graduation requirements be updated to reflect successful completion of that half unit of economics. But as of yet, the Department of Education has not adopted a regulation that updates graduation requirements to require completion of that half unit of economics. And that's what the provision in the transitory language of the bill would do, is effectively require the State Board of Education Education to update its graduation requirements to reflect the courses that are currently required by law to be taken, and then additionally to later update the graduation requirements to reflect successful completion of this unit in geography that this bill would newly require students to have taken.
So have that on the record. Do some work with NDE. Okay, next we'll go to Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you to my colleague, Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch. And just there are a lot of teachers in the room, and you retired and you're still in the business, so thank you. Thank you for all those years you've put in. I think this is a great conversation to have around requirements because we've been doing that all day. So really just two things. One thought is in my mind, I'm thinking of the balance between the college and career readiness diploma, which will take away those flex credits, which would then leave a student with the 5 electives to choose from. So there's a little bit, when you put those two together, there is a little bit more of a shift in the options of that for students, which could be okay, right? Because, you know, we want our kids to do well. But my main question really is related to, have you had an opportunity to look at the requirements, the college requirements, even in our own state? If students don't have that 4 years of math, we know they need 4 years of English anyway, but that 4 years of math and that at least 3 years of science and so on for a college admission. Have you had a chance to see how that would? And I'm kind of digging back from when I worked at the university days, and so I remember there was. Have you had a chance to kind of compare the two? If not, then you may want to take a look at that.
Yeah. So Selena LaRue Hatch, for the record, again though, this wouldn't stop them from having 4 years of math. And it wouldn't stop them from having 3 years of science. So they can still take geography and still meet those requirements. So I just want to make it really clear on the record. They have every ability to still do that. I can pass it to our colleague who actually is a professor at UNR to see if he knows the exact requirements. I know that some states do require geography, and our students that go out of state are at a disadvantage because they don't have it. But I do not know all of the requirements, so we'll see if he can answer that.
Yeah, the required high school coursework for new freshmen, at least at the University of Nevada, Reno. I can't speak to what UNLV might be, but it's 4 units of English, 3 units of mathematics, 3 units of natural science, and 3 units of social studies.
Thank you.
Geography is just an option for the social sciences. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Assemblywoman Hanson.
No, I didn't. Thank you for checking. It's the other H. It's the other H.
Thank you. Yeah, was it you?
I'll let her go.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation, and I can remember myself and both my daughters of going into as sophomores taking AP World History, and that was quite a struggle, I will say. So I appreciate what this bill is trying to do. So my question is just simply, you both mentioned that currently it's it's a honors geography. So would it just only be an honors class offering, or is it, honors, AP, regular? If you could answer that, know what you call it.
Yeah, thank you. Assemblymember LaRue Hatch, for the record. So the intention is for it to be all of the above. So it could be an honors, it could be a regular, it could be an AP, but it is offered to everybody. And so it would be offered at the level that is appropriate for each student. We currently have some AP courses, we currently have some honors courses in the district, but we want to ensure that there is also just the regular geography so that every student has that opportunity.
Any other questions? Nope. Okay, we will have you sit back and I will open it up for support. We have folks in Las Vegas who would like to testify in support. If so, come to the table. Folks in Carson City, come to the table as well. And I know we're losing a couple members, so if you have to go, you can go ahead and go. They have other committees, and it's nothing personal. Okay, please begin.
Well, hello, Chair and members of the committee. I'm Kevin Osorio Hernandez, a first-generation student at Nevada State, majoring in history, and I'm in full support of AB 228. So I want to thank Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch for this necessary bill. The more I'm involved in this excellent committee on education, I am inspired to pursue a career in education. And so I remember in high school, my favorite course was geography, which has subsequently helped me in my major in history at Nevada State. And currently I'm taking Latin American history, and which is my favorite course. And can you guess what the first test I received was? It was a geography test. So I believe that history is not only a discipline of the past, but a connection to the present and the future. And the study of geography only amplifies the ability for students to better understand the world they live in. So please support this common sense legislation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Assembly Education Committee. My name is Jesse Cruz. I'm a community advocate and sophomore at the College of Southern Nevada. I'm here from Las Vegas to speak in support of AB 228. I hope you are not tired of us yet. One of the underlying positives of this bill is its inclusion of a credit course in geography is the ability for students, not just future cartographers, to understand the basic fundamentals of countries outside of our own and to expand their knowledge of their own country and those of their peers. What's important is that students have the opportunity to learn more about cultures, ideas, arts, and peoples of different states, cities, and continents. I know for myself, I was not taught all the states in the United States, and the Clark County School District, much less countries on the other 6 continents, excluding Antarctica. So thank you for your time, and I hope you vote in support of Assembly Bill 228.
Madam Chair, Chris Daly, Nevada State Education Association. NSEA supports AB 228 to strengthen education and social studies. Strong education and social studies teaches students to be better citizens. It's not just foundational for education, it's critical to building a better society. According to the National Council for Social Studies, the primary purpose of social studies is to help young people develop the ability to make informed and reasoned decisions for the public good as citizens of a culturally diverse, democratic society in an interdependent world. Geography is an important component of social studies, studying how place impacts why the modern world works the way that it does. Geography prepares students to compete in a global economy and allows them to learn real-world skills, leading to greater success in a student's post-secondary career. NSEA initially did have some of the same concerns we had about the previous bill with this bill, in terms of impact on districts, but we felt that AB 228, after looking at it further and talking to the sponsor, actually does a pretty good job of meeting an important need while also balancing additional burdens on students, educators, in districts. We'd note that there would be no new requirement for certification for teachers, no increase in the total required credit for graduation, or I guess unless the previous bill passes as well, wouldn't take away the ability of students to take elective courses. Thank you.
Cynthia Romero for the record, and here in support of AB 228. For me, it is crucial that we support this, kind of like he said. It teaches us about different cultures, teaches our students how to interact with each other now more than ever, where students in elementary level are learning how to interact with one another, and people come from different cultures. In Las Vegas, we're super diverse, and understanding interactions with one another is crucial. I think we need to know geography to understand where people are coming from. I know when I took geography in high school, that's what sparked my interest to travel to different countries, know where places were. We learned from people that came from the community from different cultures. And now when I ask my high school students about different things that they're learning, they don't know what's going on. And as some of them have experienced, like, oh, we did this in AP geography, and I'm like, but not everyone else did. And I feel like it's really crucial for everyone to be knowledgeable about the outside world. I have students that have never left Las Vegas. All they know is Las Vegas. And when we're not teaching it in school, it's hard for them to rationalize with what's going on outside.
My name is Miriam Lachica, Miriam Lachica. I am supporting Assembly Bill 228. Most of my knowledge, I didn't have geography in high school. Most of my knowledge on it came from 4 years of Spanish class, where every week we learned about a Spanish speaking or like Latin country. And I would have definitely liked to know more. That wasn't just limited to that side of the world. After hearing what Assemblywoman Torres said about the not some students not wanting to take geography or English classes, as someone who did everything I could to avoid science and math classes in college, because that just wasn't my niche, I guess. I do appreciate wanting to teach students geography and teaching them about other cultures, because it would give students the opportunity to realize that that is what they want to do. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do see that we have some people in Las Vegas. Are you not wanting to testify? I know we had some people signed in, but we might have lost them at this point. Okay, you're not moving up. You're standing and you're walking. I hope I didn't peer pressure you into it. Go ahead when you're ready.
Is this for opposition?
No, we are still on support.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you can just stay. You can just stay there. I'm going to go to the phone lines first. BPS, are there callers in support?
Callers, if you would like to testify in support of AB 228, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. One moment, Chair.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Will Pregman, representing Battleborn Progress. It's WILL, P as in Peter, REGMAN. We're in full support of the bill and thank the Assemblywoman for bringing it forward. I'll simply ditto the remarks from NSCA. Thank you very much.
Thank you. BPS, any more callers in support?
Chair, there are no callers choosing to provide support testimony at this time.
Okay, and with that, we will close support testimony and open it to opposition. You are already in your position, so go ahead in Las Vegas.
My name is Trent Brinkus, for the record. That's TRENTBRENKUS. I'm in opposition of the bill on Bill AB 228. Me being 18 and just out of high school last year, I look back on my teachings from social studies and find it difficult to see what I really got out of those classes. I see us here talking about these flex credits and how you can get takeaways from teaching how to interact with one another in social studies, but I believe that there's a new class that should be required that could there's room for greater benefit, which would be mental health teachings inside of schools. With all these children now that are suffering from depression, gateway drugs, and suicides, if you look at some of these statistics, it's almost gut-wrenching to see how high those numbers are. And the environment that's inside of schools today, it's hard to kids to blossom into leaders or creative thinkers that can actually help the world. With these mental health teachings inside of schools, it will allow kids to learn self-love and emotional intelligence, which is terms that sound almost foreign in today's world, which is just full of hate and assumptions. And there's a lot of differences in the world that many of the teachers and administrators teaching these kids don't know about since they're not inside our shoes. But I'm speaking from the students learning and getting taught this material. And there's a lot of differences in today's world than back then, which would be phones for one, and other important factors, and just the mindset of all children, how nearly all times of the day we compare ourselves to others, and many children have lower self-esteem with all of these terrible statistics just growing in numbers. And the way to put an end to all this chaos would be implementing mental health classes. I'm not the only one experiencing these difficulties, as I've talked to many of my peers, and I've started a petition with over 500 signatures, with those numbers still climbing. And I believe these children need our help, and we're the only ones to help them, and we need to act on it.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anybody else in Las Vegas that wanted to provide testimony in opposition? I'm not seeing anyone walk up. We'll come to Carson City.
Thank you. Good evening. Patricia Haddad, Director of Government Relations for the Clark County School District. First, want to share that we appreciated the comments made by Assemblywoman Torres in her agreement there. And then, in addition, on behalf of the Clark County School District, I'd like to respectfully share our opposition to this legislation. Making geography a separately required course rather than maintaining the ability for students to have a choice will create undue issues, including undue issues around staffing and financial stressors on the district, namely major challenges with high school master schedules and in a time of teacher shortages, creating the need for additional teachers to meet this requirement. It's also important to recognize that the shared world history geography standards are already in the existing world history geography credit requirement. In addition, students receive instruction through the interwoven standards of economics, civics, geography, history, multicultural and financial literacy in every social studies course from kindergarten through grade 12. Finally, while I recognize this is a policy committee, I'd be remiss not to also mention that this will require the district to purchase additional Tier 1 instructional materials. And we are currently in the midst of a multi-million-dollar purchase of state-adopted Tier 1 instructional materials aligned to the current Nevada academic content standards for social studies, which were approved by the State Board of Education this school year. So appreciate your time and appreciate this committee's consideration.
Thank you. BPS, is there anyone on the phone lines in opposition?
Chair, the line is open and working, but there's no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Okay, with that, we will close opposition and move to neutral testimony. Do we have anyone here in neutral? Anyone in Las Vegas in neutral? Anyone on the phone lines in neutral?
Chair, the line is open and working, but there's no callers to provide testimony at this time.
Okay, with that, I'll invite the bill sponsor back up for closing remarks.
Thank you, Chair, and to all of my colleagues for considering this. I understand that anything that deals with curriculum and with diploma requirements are difficult conversations, but I think that it is important that we look at the big picture of what we want our kids to know and be able to do. I would also like to point out that Clark County School District is in opposition to this bill, but in the previous bill, which requires more money and more staff and more courses, they were in support. And so I am looking forward to working with them to make sure we're on the same page and we're working out whatever their issue is. But that previous bill will require significant financial contributions as well. And I think that shouldn't be the barrier. And I think we are the policy committee, and I think we should think about what our kids need. And I believe this is that. So thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you. And with that, we will close the hearing and we'll bring us to our final item, which is public comment. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to make public comment? Anyone in Las Vegas who wanted to make public comment? BPS, anyone on the phone lines that would like to make public comment?
Chair, the line is open and working, but there's no callers to provide public comment at this time.
Okay, with that, we will, I'll tell you that our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 4th at 1:30. This concludes our meeting for today, and the meeting is adjourned.